Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto trained by Hiruzen and Danzoo part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. Sarutobi Hiruzen stalked through the corridors of the Hokage Tower, a yellow bundle clutched in his arms. His destination, the council chamber of Konoha. Anyone who noticed him moved aside, sensing the pure rage on his face and the powerful aura of Kami no Shinobi. The title of God of Shinobi was not easily earned. Only two individuals in the elemental nations were known to hold it: Hiruzen Sarutobi, who had led Konoha through two of the three great ninja wars, and Hashirama Senju, the first Hokage and wielder of the feared Mokotan Kekkei Genkai. It could not be said that Hiruzen had lost his strength, but people are strongest during their prime years. The cute little bundle of innocence was in his arms. He was a remarkably calm infant, having cried only briefly upon his birth from Kushina. He was peering curiously towards Hiruzen's face, and Hiruzen's anger melted away at the sight. He smiled at the boy, smothering him gently, and went towards the gates of the council chambers. Automatically, 4 guards surrounded him as he approached, and they opened the gate for him to enter. Danzoo Shimura, the Yami no Shinobi Darkness of the Shinobi, was a shrewd man who was also the former rival and friend of Hiruzen. In his prime, Danzoo had started a shinobi foundation known as Na, aka Root. He was feared as well as respected throughout the entire population of Konoha. Danzoo looked towards the civilian council. Scum, disgrace, greedy bastards. They were a bunch of power-hungry fools who only wanted to stash as much wealth as they possibly could. They had their seats through the trade that connected the elemental nations together. Danzoo, himself, respected power. He once was a very ambitious man who wanted Konoha to be at the top of the elemental nation, but the death of his son, Sora Shimura, broke his will. It wasn't just the death alone, but Sora's last words. At the edge of his life, he said, the sacrifice was for the peace. Even an apathetic person like Danzoo was stricken to his core when his son took out an entire battalion of 200 ninjas with his death, through a technique known as angle flash. Danzoo abandoned all of his ambitions that day. Root was disbanded, and its agents were merged with regular ANBU Black Ops, yet he kept 10 agents for his own safety and as reserves. The civilian council was in chaos over the destruction caused by the Fox Demon. Hiruzen entered the room through double doors, 2 umbu stationed on each side. He set the boy in the arms of a cat-masked umbu, and went on to stand in front of the Hokage's seat. A fat man named Hiroki Take stood up and asked, "Where is the Yondaime-sama? We need to discuss the repair of the village, plus we need funds for the infrastructural damage across the village." Shikaku Nara was a tall and thin man with 2 distinct scars adorning his face, one on his left cheek and another on the forehead on the same side. He was known as a genius of his own league and was the current clan head of the Nara clan. Standing up, he bowed to the previous leader before speaking. "Sandaime-sama, we need to discuss the losses of our shinobi we have incurred, as well as the need to deploy more guards across our village boundaries, so that no spy can exploit our weakened state for their benefit." Hiruzen looked at the council for a moment without any expression on his face and replied, "I am very sorry, and I regret to inform you this, but our Yondaime Hokage, Minato Namikaze, gave his life to defeat Kyuubi and seal it within a vessel." A pin-drop silence spread through the council chamber for a few minutes before some began to murmur, and others started to whisper about the loss. The silence was broken by a firm but experienced voice of Danzoo Shimura. "What about his successor, Hiruzen? It appears that Minato hadn't chosen a successor before his untimely death. Therefore, I will be assuming the role of Hokage once more, and serve you until I choose a successor," Hiruzen stated confidently. "Very well, Sandaime-sama," Danzoo said firmly, using the leader's former title to show his acceptance of the decision. Before any other civilians could speak, Satsuki Yakima interjected. She asked, "What about the repair costs? Who will pay for that? And what about the Kyuubi vessel? Who is it? How do we know it's safe to let it live? If the Yondaime-sama couldn't defeat it, then what will a damned seal do? Why shouldn't we complete what the Yondaime-sama started?" She glared at the yellow bundle with hate and disgust. This was what Hiruzen feared. He had hidden the identity of the Kyuubi's vessel due to the feelings of animosity borne by the villagers toward the monster. He knew the seal was safe, and any person with some knowledge in Fuinjutsu could confirm that. He also had full trust in his successor's skills. He contemplated for a moment and looked toward Danzoo, who nodded firmly, signaling his support as a friend in this situation. Sandaime replied, "The boy is in safe hands with my umbu here, and the seal will lock up Kyuubi up for a long time within the boy's body. His name is Naruto Uzumaki, and he is to be treated as a hero of the leaf because of his burden." That caused 5 raised eyebrows, those belonging to Hayashi Hyuga, the clan head of the Hyuga clan. Suminazuka, the clan head of Inazuka clan, Fugaku Uchiha, the clan head of Uchiha clan, Naro Shikaku, commander of the Leaf Force and Hokage's strategic advisor, and Danzoo Shimura. Hayashi was on the same genin team as Kushina, and knew there was only one Uzumaki in the village. Same could be said about Sum, who was a partner in pranks with Kushina and one of the three friends of the redhead. Fugaku's wife was friends with the Red Trouble. Naro Shikaku was a genius and just figured it out, and nothing was hidden from the Shimura clan's head. Soon after the announcement, an uproar echoed on both sides of the council. The entire civilian council supported the execution of the said demon. However, from the shinobi side of the council, 3 clans opposed the Hokage's decision. One was a lowly clan, second was the Kurama clan, lastly and most shockingly, the Uchiha clan. Enough! Hiruzen roared, and the entire chamber felt the aura of the legendary shinobi the next moment. All the people, except Danzoo, were on their knees, sweating profusely, while most of the civilian councilors fell unconscious under the intense gaze of Hiruzen. Nico spoke fearfully to the Hokage. Hokage-sama, the boy is terrified. I request you to please stop this aura. The Sandaime glanced at the baby and saw the terrified expression on his face. The child had also wet his diaper. Hiruzen restrained his killer intent, and everyone unknowingly released the breaths they had been holding. The Sandaime glared toward Murakumo, the Kurama clan head, who flinched and lowered his gaze. However, Fugaku Uchiha looked directly back at the Sandaime and said, Hokage-sama, I do not mean to offend you. And I truly believe in the skills of our renowned Yondaime, but the boy is a burden and should be dealt with accordingly. We should either eliminate him or use him as a weapon. Fugaku Uchiha was a very ambitious and competitive man. He was the rival of Minato, more like a true enemy. He despised Nanuchiho and coveted the mantle of Hokage, make no mistake, not for the peace or safety of the village, but for power. Yes, Fugaku Uchiha was a power-hungry man, and Hiruzen knew that Naruto was a source of irritation for the Uchiha clan head. Some Inazuka erupted in profanities at the proclamation of the Uchiha clan head. She was friends with the pup's mother, so this pup was a part of her pack, and she would not allow anybody to harm a single strand of hair on this boy's body. No, Naruto is safe and the Kyuubi's chakra is locked up safely inside the seal. As of today, Naruto's status as a Jinchuriki is an S-rank secret, and anybody found discussing it will be executed. Naruto will be under the regular and direct surveillance of top Umbu agents, and anyone who dares to put a single scratch on the boy will be executed publicly. Fugaku nodded, feigning neutrality on the outside, but from within he was seething. He wanted the last proof of that man's existence to be erased, yet he would do it indirectly at the right time. Ultimately, the members of the civilian council woke up and the discussions on various matters continued. After 4 hours, Hiruzen returned to the Hokage chamber, the yellow bundle in his arms. He gently placed the baby in the crib, delivered earlier by the all-masked Umbu, positioned in the office corner. He wanted to adopt Naruto, but his wife had died in the Kyuubi attack. His first son was an ANBU agent, and his second was going to be a part of the famous 12 guardian guards of Daimyo. He also had to carry out the duties of the Hokage. No, him adopting the blonde was not a possibility. The child's fate depended on 3 individuals. If all 3 refused to care of him, then he would place the boy in an orphanage. Hatake Kakashi, also known as Sharingan no Kakashi, gained his Sharingan from his late friend Obito Uchiha. Kakashi's father, the legendary Tsukumo Hatake, committed suicide by impaling himself on his famous sword, the White Saber. Kakashi's first teammate died in the cave near Kanobi Bridge, and his second teammate, Noera Rin, took her own life by impaling herself with Kakashi's Chidori. The only remaining tied to the village for Kakashi were Minato and Kushina, but they too have since passed away. Kakashi could not aid them because he was held back by Danzo's men. He was broken and wounded, as his only connection to the village was now in shreds. He might even leave the shinobi ranks and the village altogether. At first, he had joined the shinobi forces to reinstate the honor of his clan, which, according to his childish self, was tarnished by his father. But the death of Obito made him see the value of friends and his father's ultimate sacrifice. He wanted to protect his loved ones by serving the village's shinobi system, but now he had no one to protect. He was boiling with anger. Today, someone would face the fury of the last student of the Yondaime Hokage. He was filled with a deep, burning rage, a storm inside him because of the loss of his respected teacher. The Yondaime Hokage was a great man, remembered with sadness by many. He, carrying that grief, was now ready to unleash his intense anger on whoever deserved it, promising a harsh confrontation. He knocked on the Hokage's chamber door. "Come in," a voice called from inside. Kakashi entered the chamber to see Sandaime sitting near a crib and signing letters, presumably for the people who had sacrificed their lives during the previous night's QB incident. Some of his anger melted away by the look on the face of the old and tired leader of the village, who had reclaimed the mantle. The face was a reflection of the decision that he had taken for the betterment of the village, a reflection of the lost ones, a reflection of regret, a reflection of the burden that he had shouldered so that the village did not fall into the leadership of people like Orochimaru. Sandaime sensed a presence and looked up to see Kakashi standing in front of him. Kakashi's eyes were bloodshot and puffy, probably due to crying over the loss of his teacher. His hands were clenched, a clear sign of stress and frustration. He stood up and walked toward Kakashi. "I am sorry, my boy," he apologized, placing a hand on the masked Umbu's shoulder. "It seems we are on the familiar yet unwanted turf again. I have to pass the bad news to you. Your sensei and Kushina sacrificed themselves to save the village. I can understand your pain, Kakashi, and I regret that Minato didn't give me the chance to seal Kyuubi. As expected from him, he sacrificed himself for the safety of this village, and Kushina followed him." Hiruzen walked back to his desk and took out 2 letters from a small stack of 7 letters that had been handed to him by Minato just the night before the Kyuubi incident. He handed them to Kakashi. He further said, "These were handed to me by Minato and Kushina. They stressed to me that only your eyes should see them. You may not know this, but they were suspicious of the events, as the seal on a Jinchuriki is weakest during childbirth." Sandaime handed the letters to Kakashi sadly and motioned for him to take a seat on the sofa and read them. Kakashi opened the first letter, which was titled Minato to Kakashi. It read, "Dear Kakashi, I am proud that I found a student like you. You are my son above all else. I am writing this letter before the night of Kushina's delivery, and if you're reading this, then I am gone. I apologize for leaving you alone, Kakashi. I know you have endured much in your short life, but your determination is strong. I want you to look after your younger brother, Naruto. I trust that you will guide him on the right path. If we both die, then you are his only support in the village. I just want you to take good care of yourself and make sure Naruto doesn't go down the wrong path. Love, Minato." By this point, Kakashi's mask was damp with tears. He had always looked up to his teacher as a second father. He put the letter back in the envelope and pocketed it before going on to read the second letter, which was addressed to him by Kushina. It read, "Dear Kakashi, I don't want to write a lengthy speech for you. I always viewed you as my son. I entrust Naruto to you. Please take good care of both of you. Kushina." Kakashi knew that Kushina was not good at describing her feelings through words. She was truly a lovely woman and was the only one capable enough to keep his sensei in check. His train of thought went to the name Naruto. He looked up toward the face of the Hokage expectantly. Sandaime saw the various emotions playing across the silver-haired Umbu's face. Sadness, fondness, grief, and finally, hope. He looked up into Hiruzen's eyes, and Hiruzen understood what he was about to ask. He motioned him toward the crib. Kakashi, with shaky legs, got up and staggered over to the crib. Akashi peered into the small wooden bed. He almost felt a wave of fear seeing those deep blue eyes, so much like his kind teacher's, on Kushina's face. The little baby had 3 soft lines on each cheek and a bright patch of yellow hair on his small head. Naruto looked up at Kakashi with wide, curious eyes. Kakashi reached out his hand, wanting to touch the soft skin of the boy's face, but he quickly drew it back. A strange feeling washed over him, a mix of sadness and a gentle warmth. The child reminded him so strongly of his beloved sensei, it was almost like looking at a tiny ghost. Sandaime watched the scene with a small frown. He now understood that Kakashi was not in the right mind and couldn't take care of himself, or this child. Moreover, if Kakashi was this messed up, then he didn't want to know what would be the state of Jiraiya after he came to know about this whole incident. Yes, the second person on the want to confirm list was Jiraiya, a figure of immense renown and complex connections. He was not only one of the prized students of the wise Hiruzen, the third Hokage, but also a distinguished member of the legendary Sannin, a trio of ninja whose power and influence shaped the very landscape of the shinobi world. Furthermore, Jiraiya held the significant role of sensei to the brilliant and self-sacrificing Minato Namikaze, the fourth Hokage, a bond forged in respect and mentorship. Adding another layer to his involvement, he was the designated godfather of the newborn Naruto, a responsibility he now considered with a heavy heart. He walked towards Kakashi and placed his hand on Kakashi's shoulder. "Kakashi, I know he is your last hope and connection to your sensei, but right now you are not in the right state of mind to take him under your care." Kakashi's eyes widened, and he looked toward the face of the Hokage. "But we both are brothers in everything but blood," Kakashi said. "I will take good care of him. Please let me have his custody." The Hokage looked sympathetically towards the boy and said, I am sorry, Kakashi, but I can't do that. You aren't in the right state of mind to take care of him. I understand your reasons and respect them, but you should also consider my reasons. However, fear not, Kakashi. I'm not going to separate him from you. You will be his guardian. And I am assigning another shinobi to look after the boy, clarified Hiruzen. He signaled his Umbu with a subtle hand movement, and instantly, one of them materialized before him, kneeling respectfully. Bring me the new recruit from the Chunin department. She was recruited yesterday, he ordered. 5 tense minutes passed before the doorway yielded a figure. A shinobi, clad in full body mesh armor as a base layer, emerged. Over this, she wore a striking purple top paired with a practical black short skirt. Her legs were encased in distinctive net leggings. The newcomer was Mitarashi Anko. Kakashi, you and Anko have an S-rank long-term assignment. Protect this child from all threats, internal and external. Anyone hostile enough to touch even a single hair on his head is to be eliminated, the Sandaime stated firmly. You are authorized to extract necessary information before termination. Regular missions will continue, but your free time prioritizes his protection. You will never be deployed simultaneously. Do you both understand your mission? The Sandaime's gaze was serious, and they both nodded in acknowledgement. Anko's mind raced with confusion. Why was a mere Chunin like her tasked with guarding a baby? And an S-ranked mission, no less? Was this some form of subtle discrimination? But Kakashi understood. Considering the immense burden the child carried within him, the Sandaime Hokage of Konohagakure no Sato wasn't being discriminatory. He was ensuring the absolute safety of the son of two heroes, individuals who had selflessly sacrificed their lives, and effectively their son's life by making him a Jinchuriki. This was the bare minimum they could do for the boy. Hiruzen's choice of Anko wasn't arbitrary either. She was nearing the end of a probationary period following her return from Orochimaru's insidious lab the previous year. This mission was as much a test of her loyalty and stability as it was an act of protection. Some hours after Sandaime had dismissed Kakashi and Anko, there was a knock on his door again. The leader replied, Enter. Danzoo Shimura entered the cabin. He walked with support of a cane as he was crippled. However, only a few people knew that this was rather a decoy to fool the enemies. Danzoo was always a cunning bastard. He was the master of deceptive art. He wasn't able to acquire the level of strength Hiruzen was able to accumulate, but he covered his shortcomings with his cunning mindset. Whomever saw him as weak shinobi was already 6 feet under the ground in a nicely decorated coffin. Sandaime gave a small smile to his friend. Once the arrival or presence of this man would have been quite bothersome and a bit dangerous. Though, after Sora's demise, he was far more calm and wise. Ah, Danzoo. Thank you for your support, my old friend. Do you think I took the right decision about revealing the boy's burden? Asked Hiruzen for his friend's advice. If you take my advice into consideration, you did the right thing, my friend. By revealing the boy's status to a few trusted individuals, it will be easier for you to handle certain situations, replied Danzoo thoughtfully. I also wanted some help from you, Danzoo. I need 2 of your Umbu to look after the boy day and night, and protect him if the shinobi I assigned to guard him are unavailable, requested the aged Hokage. Danzoo nodded and approached the crib. He had seen the boy in the chamber, and was amazed by the boy's resilience. He hadn't even cried in the presence of Hiruzen's anger. Any other baby of his age would have died from that aura, but the boy was only afraid of the power. He had seen Minato and had tried to integrate him into Root, but the boy had declined his offer and was being guarded by Jiraiya at the time. He was sure, if he still had the command of any under him, or any inclination toward his former goal, he would have fought tooth and nail to acquire this boy, but he had abandoned those motives far behind. He turned toward Sandaime, bowed curtly to him and left through the door. Early hours on the date of Kyuubi incident. Jiraiya, the self-proclaimed super-perverted hermit, was roaming around the edge of the Earth country in a disguise. He was on his way to meet one of his contacts in the said country, currently in a small village known for its taverns and wine. He strolled into a red-pillared bar, and took a seat at the last table. After 10 long minutes, another cloaked figure joined him. What news do you have for me, Dara? Asked Jiraiya to his contact. There have been rumors about some tension arising in between Mad Bomber Deidara and Tsuchika Jinoki, informed the cloaked figure. Anything else? Jiraiya questioned after a brief ponder. There also seemed some tension arising between Kumogakure and Iwagakure. The man informed him discreetly. Well, that's an interesting piece of news, said Jiraiya as he passed a pouch of coins to the cloaked figure. The cloaked figure caught it, and disappeared into the crowd the next moment. Jiraiya ambled back from the dimly lit bar, his mind already wandering towards finding a cozy inn for the night. Perhaps tomorrow, he'd explore the village further, seeking out a steamy public bath to soak his weary bones, or maybe even a lively brothel to, shall we say, attend to his more colorful needs. But just as those thoughts began to form, a strange, insistent pull tugged at his very being. In the blink of an eye, faster than a startled sparrow and with the suddenness of a seasoned magician, Jiraiya was gone, leaving only the lingering scent of cheap sake. Jiraiya landed with a thud on the wet soil of empty Mayaboku. Standing in front of him were two familiar entities, Ma and Pa, the elder sage toads of the Toad Summoning Clan. "Hey, what's the meaning of this? Why did you summon me like that? You could have sent a toad to inform me," Jiraiya asked, pointing his finger at the two toads. "The messenger toad would have consumed unnecessary time to reach you, and the situation is urgent. Great Toad Sage Gamamara-sama has awoken up, and has a prophecy for you to hear," Fukasaku informed him sincerely. "Yeah, that old senile sage has been pretty adamant about only telling you his prophecy," agreed Shima offhandedly. This caused a bickering riot between the two toad sages regarding the conduct toward the ancient toad. Jiraiya just sweat dropped and went inside the cave, ignoring them both, grumbling about old mad toads and a senile Gamamaru. Jiraiya reached the throne of Old Toad and stood in front of sleeping Gamamaru. After a lot of bickering, Shima and Fukasaku joined Jiraiya, with Fukasaku having a ball-sized bop on his head. Jiraiya just sweat dropped again and asked, "Is this old senile gonna wake up or not?" He also got bopped on his head by Shima. "Hey! What's the big idea? You also called him senile, you fool." Jiraiya glared at Shima, who huffed and turned away. After 2 hours. "This is insane. Is he gonna wake up or not, Pa?" yelled Jiraiya irritably. "He just wakes up to eat, see young female toads dance, or to give prophecies sometimes," voiced in Fukasaku. Jiraiya pondered for a moment, and then grinned lecherously. He went in front of Gamamaru and performed 4 hand seals before yelling, "Megan, heavenly looks!" A vision of a young female toad without clothes, wearing a seductive smile, appeared before Gamamaru. It motioned him to come towards her in a lecherous manner. Gamamaru's eyes opened from the voice, his eyes bulging out for a second as he saw the young female toad before falling unconscious with a large nosebleed. Ow ow ow. Jiraiya received 3 blows to the head, 1 from Fukasaku and 2 from Shima. "You idiot, now he won't wake up for another 3 hours, shouted Shima angrily. "Oh no!" exclaimed Jiraiya. After half an hour, Gamamaru woke up and found himself facing 3 sages in front of him. "Who are you?" asked Gamamaru to the 3 of them. Shima just facebound while Jiraiya deadpanned. Fukasaku answered the question. "He is Jiraiya, Great Toad, our summoner." Then, a flicker of recognition crossed Gamamaru's ancient features, swiftly followed by an expression of profound seriousness that settled upon his wrinkled face like a sudden shadow. "Ah yes, Jiraiya boy. It seems I had another dream." The toad's expression turned serious. It contained both good and bad. The coming days will be dark times for the Leaf Village. The Leaf Village will lose its greatest hero at the hands of a red-eyed monster. Jiraiya's fists clenched and his eyes widened. He understood the reference correctly. The greatest hero of the Leaf Village is Yellow Flash. His student is Minato, and the red-eyed monster that is sealed inside Kushina is known as Kyubi. He then remembered that Kushina was pregnant, and she was going to give birth today, but his thoughts were cut off by the voice of Gamamaru. "Though with the loss of the greatest hero of the Leaf Village, we will gain the hero of the entire elemental nations. A child who will save humanity from this cycle of war and hatred." Now everything was clear for Jiraiya. His student was going to die and his son would be the child of prophecy. Jiraiya had been searching for this child of prophecy ever since he was young, when Gamamaru first spoke to him and predicted that one of Jiraiya's students would bring peace and end this cycle of hatred. Jiraiya reversed the summoning jutsu, tearing through the dimensional fabric to return to the elemental nation. He propelled himself forward with incredible speed, pushing his body to its absolute peak velocity on a direct course towards Konoha. The Great Toad Sage and the other toads had issued stern warnings against his interference, their ancient wisdom cautioning against disrupting the delicate threads of fate. However, Jiraiya's resolve was unshakable. He would not stand idly by and lose another precious member of his fragmented family. Unknown to many, Jiraiya himself carried the scars of an orphan past, his parents lost to the brutal realities of the Second Shinobi World War, leaving him with their inherited wealth and a grand, yet empty, mansion. He had dedicated his youth to rigorous self-training, driven by a fierce desire to make his departed parents proud. When he finally earned the revered title of Sannin, he found a bittersweet satisfaction, certain they would have beamed with pride had they been alive to witness his achievement. Yet, the gaping void of loneliness always lingered, a dull ache in his heart. He had briefly attempted to fill this emptiness by caring for the war orphans in Amigakure, pouring his energy and resources into their well-being, only to be forced to abandon them due to pressing security concerns within Konoha. Years later, the devastating news of their demise reached him, deepening the existing wound. He then channeled his focus and unwavering dedication into Minato, nurturing his prodigious talent, pushing him to master every facet of the ninja arts, including the intricate complexities of Fuinjutsu. Minato had surpassed even his own considerable abilities, blossoming into a ninja of unparalleled skill and strength. Jiraiya loved Minato as the son he never had, finding a measure of solace and happiness in his surrogate family. But now, a new crisis loomed, threatening to shatter the fragile peace he had found, and his protective instincts roared to life. 14 hours after Kyuubi incident. A white blur passed through the Konoha gates. The gate guards didn't need to check the individual's identity, as there was only one man who wore red and green robes and had white spiky hair: Jiraiya, of the legendary 3. He was running at full speed until he saw the devastation of over 1/5 of the Leaf Village. The repair work was underway. Jiraiya headed directly for the house of his student, which was located on the outskirts of the forest at the top of Hokage Mountain. His fear increased exponentially when he saw the seals placed by Minato, the blood seal and the chakra seal, which would only react to the Namikaze bloodline. Jiraiya entered the Hokage office, thinking maybe Minato had simply moved into the office for added security, but was disheartened when he saw his old sensei in Hokage robes looking worse than ever. "So it's true then, they have sacrificed themselves to protect this village, and sealed Kyuubi in a vessel?" asked Jiraiya with his eyes boring holes in the floor of the office. Hiruzen has sensed the chakra of his student when he had entered the village gates, and was waiting for him to come to the office. "I am sorry, Jiraiya, I tried to reason with him to let me do the sealing, but he was adamant about sealing the Kyuubi," Sandaime stated remorsefully, looking at his student. "I know, sensei," Jiraiya replied emotionlessly. "I need time alone for a 2-year mission, evidence on Orochimaru, and a new mercenary group with other S-ranked shinobi." Jiraiya's voice remained emotionless, but Hiruzen caught the subtle twitch in his hand, indicating regret and guilt. "I know this isn't the right time, but could you please just take a look at the vessel's seal and confirm that it's secure?" asked Sandaime, motioning toward the corner of the room where the crib lay. Jiraiya tried to say something, his mouth opened and then closed, but he just closed his eyes and nodded. Hiruzen motioned him toward the crib, and Jiraiya went near it. Just like Kakashi, he was stunned and aghast. In front of him was a mop of yellow hair and blue eyes on the face of Kushina Uzumaki. "Is he there?" were only words that Jiraiya can muster up to say. "Yes. Isn't he a replica of them, Jiraiya? He has Minato's hairs and eyes, with Kushina's face." Hiruzen agreed softly. He asked hesitantly, "Can I touch him?" Hiruzen nodded positively. Jiraiya took the baby in his arms, finding it to be a healthy boy. Jiraiya felt a pull from the boy, who looked at him happily as if he knew him. The moment was interrupted by the soft yet firm voice of Hiruzen. "He is all yours, Jiraiya," the old Hokage informed him. "As your godfather, you are his first guardian. Therefore, you must make all the decisions for him until he becomes a shinobi." But isn't she also one of his godparents? What if she wants his guardianship? Beside, I can't travel and run a spy network with a kid in my care," contemplated Jiraiya. "Yes, she also has an equal right on him, but she is not available here, and I doubt that we can find her that easily," Hiruzen said, looking at the crestfallen expression on Jiraiya's face. "Don't worry, I won't force his care on you. He will be sent to an orphanage, and I have deployed 3 ANBU and 1 Chunin for his protection. Additionally, I will take an equal part in his upbringing. I can do that at least to repay Minato for his bravery and sacrifice. I will come regularly to check on him and become his first guardian when the time is right. But sensei, don't disclose his relationship with me, keep his files and other documents secure. IWA or Kuma would do anything to get their hands on him. He should be protected like no one else. Can you at least tell me who are the Umbu that will look after him?" questioned Jiraiya seriously. Yes, one is the last student of Minato, and a new recruit named Anko, while the other 2 are root Umbu, and they will only take action if the first 2 are unavailable," Hiruzen explained. "You are deploying root after my godson. They will try to use him or kidnap him. You very well know what Danzoo wants and what are his aims," Jiraiya yelled with a rage-filled face. "Keep your voice down, Jiraiya," Hiruzen reprimanded sharply. "Danzoo has promised me to help and protect the boy. He also supports my decision. After Sora's death, he is much calmer and wiser than before. He will not attempt anything like that, for he knows what I am capable of," Hiruzen said with a firm and strict voice. Jiraiya nodded, kept the boy back in the crib, glanced a last time toward the boy and left through the window. Hiruzen just nodded and returned to his paperwork for the day. Naruto had to be kept safe. The legends of his father were enough to endanger his life from enemies. He would be named Naruto Uzumaki, and not Namikaze. 5 years after the Kyuubi incident, a lonely 5-year-old boy with striking golden blonde hair and 3 peculiar whisker-like marks etched on his young face walked along a secluded stone gravel path, a route deliberately chosen to avoid the prying eyes of the civilian population. This hidden way was primarily known and utilized by the village's shinobi, who frequently traversed its short length to save time. If anyone inquired about his preference for this isolated path, he would simply express his aversion to the constant stares and hushed whispers that followed him, sensations that invariably made his small heart clench with discomfort. Sometimes, a profound and unsettling feeling would wash over him, a sense that he didn't quite belong within the bustling heart of the village, although the truth was the very opposite. His infant life had been unknowingly sacrificed for the ultimate safety and well-being of this very place. He possessed every inherent right to walk its familiar streets with a sense of pride and simple happiness, free from the burden of curious gazes and muttered comments. A hero, that was the silent acknowledgement his departed father held for him, a truth yet to be revealed to the innocent child. His Inu and Aisan, who always brought him gifts and tried to spend as much time as he could each week. The keyword here is tried, since Inu was an umbu and was almost always busy. He had never seen Inu's face due to the mask that he wore. The second person to acknowledge him was his crazy snake sister, Anko, a nickname often whispered by the villagers. From the earliest flickering of his memory, Anko had been a constant presence in his young life, a steadfast guardian in a world that often felt cold and indifferent. It was Anko who patiently taught him the fundamental skills of reading and writing, knowledge deliberately withheld by the unkind caretakers at the orphanage, who seemed to view him with a mixture of fear and resentment. Anko's unconventional affection and unwavering support were a rare beacon of light in his often lonely life. There was something strange about the orphanage itself. Throughout his stay, he had seen 6 wardens change, and there was one common thread among them: they all hated him passionately. He didn't know the reason for that hatred, though. The third person who showered him with care was the Sandaime Hokage, whom he fondly called Gigi. The old man had consistently been a source of support, treating him to steaming bowls of ramen at Ichiraku's every Saturday. Gigi always spoke of the village and its inhabitants as one large family, a sentiment that often felt distant yet comforting to him. He also instilled in Naruto the solemn duty of a Hokage, to protect this very family. The remaining 2 individuals who offered him genuine warmth resided at that beloved ramen stand, Tochi and Ayame Ichiraku. They were the only other souls in the entire village, besides his snake sister and Gigi, who never met his gaze with disgust or fear. Their interactions were always filled with kindness and a gentle affection that soothed his often aching heart. Naruto wanted to become the Hokage, so that one day the villagers would no longer ignore him. He wanted to earn the respect of his fellow villagers. As he turned a corner, he saw a single person in a Jonin flak jacket, wearing the leaf hitai standing in the middle of his path. He was leaning against the fence and looked at him with that familiar disdain. Naruto turned around to take an alternate route, only to be stopped by a kunai that landed at his feet. "So you're my assignment, huh? It'll be damned easy, just a swing of my kunai, and your head will roll on the ground," the rough voice of the man mocked. Naruto was stunned. He had practiced with blunt kunai given to him by Anko, whom he had pestered to train him in shuriken and kunai throwing. But these real kunais were razor sharp and being thrown at him with an intent to kill. Naruto was brave but not an idiot. He knew that a Jonin was far stronger than him, and he didn't stand a chance against him. He started to sprint the other way but was easily subdued by the man. He was about to puncture Naruto's neck with a kunai but, surprisingly, fell limp on the ground the next moment. Standing behind the Jonin was a purple-faced Anko. She was feared by even the toughest umbu of the village. Her brutal interrogation techniques and sadistic nature were not hidden by any. And one thing that even the Hokage knew was that it was unwise to hurt Anko's friends, as the girl was vindictive in a very sadistic way. Anko held a special affection for the blonde brat. Only 4 could quell her fury. Kakashi Hatake, her former ANBU partner, earned her grudging respect over 5 intense years. Kurenai Yuhi was her dearest friend. Naruto himself, after 5 years of her fierce protection, became like a cherished sibling, their bond a mix of playful insults and deep loyalty. Finally, the Hokage's firm yet kind demeanor had earned the kunoichi's respect. "Are you okay, brat?" Anko inquired worriedly, sincerity and anger glinting in her eyes. Unable to speak, Naruto simply nodded and embraced Anko. Anko stiffened at the contact but eventually relaxed. Their silent hug lasted another 2 minutes before they separated. Naruto's small and soft voice cut through the silence. Why did he attack me, Nasan? He was a traitor, Naruto. He was on his way to desert the village, and attempted to use you as a distraction, or most probably a hostage. Anko lied swiftly. She reached out to the Jonin's body after extracting herself from Naruto, and sealed the body in a stasis seal. Naruto shook his head to accept the answer, but deep down, Naruto suspected that it wasn't true. He couldn't explain how, but he could sense and feel others' emotions, even if they were trying to hide them, like Gigi always felt guilt and love when interacting with him. Inu Nisan felt hope and comfort around him, and Anko Nasan felt happiness and satisfaction by his side. Naruto's musings were cut short by Anko's voice. By the way, what are you doing out here so late, Gaki? Don't you have to return to your orphanage? Naruto just hung his head and shook it sadly. The mean lady at the orphanage said I was no longer welcome there, and should find another home. That bit Anko started to curse the foul lady but halted, noticing Naruto was still there. The last time she had cursed around Naruto, he had repeated it in front of the Hokage, and Anko had received a good lesson on how to properly behave around children. Let's go and see Hokage-sama then, he will surely have a solution for this, conceded Anko after contemplating for a moment. Half an hour later, there was a knock on the door of the Hokage's chamber. Enter, replied the elderly leader. The Sandaime looked up from his towering paperwork as the bright yellow of Naruto and the stormy expression of Anko entered his chamber. The late hour and Anko's obvious displeasure immediately signaled to the Hokage that something was amiss. Hey Gigi? Naruto chirped and jumped up on the old man's lap, settling comfortably. Hi there, Naruto-kun. What brings you here, my boy? Asked Hiruzen with a chuckle. In the response, the said boy only hung his head. Sandaime instantly understood that this time something seriously bad has transpired in front of the young boy. Even after the announcement of the S-rank secret on the boy's status, some bastard from the council had leaked the information about the boy's Jinchuriki status, and then started a series of assassination attempts on the boy. The last one being this Jonin, who was contracted by a civilian councilman. Sandaime flashed Anko a questioning gaze. In response, she made a discreet sign for fake explanation and explained the situation to the village leader. It still doesn't answer why you were outside. Shouldn't you be in the orphanage at this time of the day? Asked the Sandaime Hokage anxiously. It wasn't safe for Naruto to roam around the village at this time of the day. Naruto said sadly, the mean lady wouldn't let me enter. Oh, that's unfortunate. Care not, Naruto. I will look into this matter personally and will arrange a different accommodation option for you. Until then, go rest in the 4th room from here, said the Sandaime, frowning a little. Naruto muttered something under his breath and climbed down from Hiruzen's lap before walking toward the gate of chamber. What did you say, my boy? Asked Hiruzen softly. I want you to train me to become a strong ninja just like you, Gigi. I was scared when that man attacked me, and couldn't move. Please train me. Next time, I don't want to freeze or have to rely on anyone else for help, said Naruto determinedly. For a moment, Hiruzen saw a vision of a similar-looking blonde with the same pleading expression, begging for the permission to enter the war. Hiruzen pondered on the request. Naruto was a brave, determined, and smart kid. Hiruzen was sure that one day Naruto would even surpass his own father. It would cause a lot of disarray in the council, as they didn't want Naruto to become strong, but Hiruzen had firm control over them and would rule over their bickering. I will see to it, my boy, Hiruzen stated, nodding to himself. Naruto nodded and left the chamber towards his assigned room. Sandaime returned his attention to Anko and asked her to explain the real story behind the whole fiasco. After a brief recounting of the events of that evening, it appeared that the Jonin was Yuri Akasura, a low-level Jonin who had qualified for the Jonin exam last year in Takigakure, securing 5th rank in the final round. He was given this assignment by Hakudo Yasuda, a man who managed the steel trade and held a position on the council. However, Yasuda was already on the list of people suspected of treason. Sandaime ordered her to keep the Jonin alive as evidence against Yasuda's crimes, and dismissed her. It was risky to keep Anko with him while he interrogated the man. She was brutal and somewhat brash when it came to the safety of her loved ones. Hiruzen bent down to the last drawer of his desk, and took out a scroll with red corners and green ribbon tied to it. He opened the scroll, which was littered with various kanjis and seal arrays. He cut his finger and spread a little amount of blood on the scroll, and made 5 necessary hand signs. There was a puff of smoke and a red toad with green stripes and purple lips appeared out of it. I want you to take a message to Jiraiya. Tell him that he needs to make some important decisions regarding his godson. I want him in my office by tomorrow evening, or else, I will strip him of his privileges, and force him to complete 25 D-ranked missions. Hi, Hokage-sama, croaked the toad, and vanished in a puff of smoke. With the hand seal, Hiruzen summoned 2 Umbu agents who appeared before him, their voices echoing, "Hokage-sama. Inform all the councilmen to gather in the chamber in half an hour, and arrest the warden of the orphanage. I want her sent to Ibiki Marino," ordered Sandaime. Both the Umbu vanished after nodding. "Nico, unseal the prisoner outer scroll and bring him to the chamber in half an hour." He tossed the scroll that was caught by the said Umbu. She nodded in confirmation, and receded back in the shadows. Half-hour later in council chamber. Both sides of the council was assembled and were murmuring about the sudden call from the Hokage. The Hokage entered the chamber, followed by 4 Umbu agents and a 5th, cat-masked Umbu who trailed behind them with a handcuffed man. The shinobi side of the council was confused by the sudden appearance of a bound man, although it was evident that the man had committed a heinous act to be brought before the council for jurisdiction. Sandaime took his place on the seat of Hokage, and begun addressing the council. "As you all know, I have called this urgent full-body meeting. I believe you all remember about Naruto Uzumaki. His status was to be kept secret from the people outside this chamber, yet someone from this council leaked that particular information, endangering one of our village's residents," he said with disappointment clearly in his voice. "As a result of that, there have been several attempts on the life of the little boy. Though, all the attempts were dealt with by the Umbu guarding him. I stand here, disappointed, as someone from this very council dared to hire a jonin to kill him," he thundered. Several sharp gasps rippled through the gathered onlookers, and hushed whispers immediately spread among them, a wave of murmuring curiosity. Among the crowd, one individual was utterly disappointed, another was unnerved, and the last one was fuming with anger. Danzoo was disappointed with the stupidity of the people who tried to kill the vessel. He didn't have any special connection to the boy, yet he couldn't deny that the boy had strong blood running through his veins. He had the capability to become a strong shinobi. Hayashi Hyuga frowned. He didn't know the Uzumaki boy personally, but the boy's mother was his teammate and a good friend who had helped him on numerous occasions. The enraged woman exploded in a torrent of profanity. "I will rip off their arms and feed them to my dogs. Tell me who harmed Naruto, Hokage-sama. I will rip off their balls." Tsume's ranting was stopped by a firm hand over her mouth. The Aburame clan head was the only one brave enough to take such a risk with the Inuzuka clan matriarch. "Apologies, Hokage-sama. She is merely scared for the boy, we all are. She is just straightforward about her feelings." Aburame Shibi apologized. "I certainly don't hold her reaction against her, Shibi. On the contrary, I would like to offer her a chance to do what she transpired when we catch the culprit behind this plot," Hiruzen responded calmly. This elicited gasps throughout the chamber. The Hokage was practically allowing Tsume to carry out her threats, which demonstrated just how seriously the village leader took this issue. Danzo's voice cut through the whispers nevertheless. "Who is responsible for the attack, Hokage-sama?" "That's what I also want to know," Hiruzen replied swiftly. He signaled to Nico, "Bring out the prisoner, Nico, and ask him who gave him the assignment." Nico brought the prisoner forward. "Who gave you this assignment, Yuri?" Haki Hakudo Yashuda the jonin blurted out fearfully. The captured man, attempting a desperate escape, found himself instantly immobilized by the swift movements of the Umbu agents stationed within the room. However, before any questions could be posed, a sudden, chilling click echoed as his teeth clenched. His body then went completely limp, a disturbing froth bubbling from his mouth. The silent, rapid poisoning left the assembled individuals in stunned silence, the opportunity for immediate interrogation vanishing with his final, involuntary act. The Umbu agents exchanged grim glances, the ease of his demise a stark indication of a deliberate and well-executed plan to evade questioning. Nico moved quickly and checked his pulse, but the answer was clear: he had used some sort of poison to avoid interrogation. The Umbu guard present there checked his mouth and found traces of purple poison on his tongue. Sandaime motioned for her to take him out of the room. The culprit committed suicide out of fear of punishment or further disclosure, Hiruzen stated neutrally. "Carry that man to Anko, or Inu, if he is present," he ordered one of guards, who nodded and went off to carry his order. The meeting was adjourned and the Sandaime Hokage of Konohagakure moved back to his office to complete the mountain of paperwork. The next morning, Hiruzen was seated in his chair, signing some papers pertaining to the circulation of weapons within the village, when a familiar chakra signature landed outside his window. The window opened, and Jiraiya jumped inside the office. "Hey, sensei!" Jiraiya waved his hands in the air as a greeting. Hiruzen facepalmed at his student's lack of etiquette. Jiraiya wouldn't be Jiraiya if he became too serious. Nonetheless, he explained the situation regarding Naruto's security and the orphanage. To say Jiraiya was angry was an understatement. He was livid and was ready to kill the person responsible for this, but was calmed down by Hiruzen after he informed him of the events of the previous day. Now, what I want from you is permission. As you're his guardian, any decision regarding his accommodation and education must be taken only after your consent, Hiruzen stated suggestively. Permission? For what exactly? Jiraiya asked confusedly. For two things. First, I will give Naruto an apartment in the non-shinobi area. As his father's account has been frozen due to not having an official heir, the apartment is small but comfortable for use, explained Hiruzen, but was interrupted by Jiraiya before he could state the second need. No, my godson will not fend for himself and live in a paltry apartment. I have chosen a house in the shinobi living district. I will buy it. You'll give it to the Gaki, and all his expenses are to be managed through my account, Jiraiya said in a firm voice and handed a piece of paper to his sensei. Here, this is my account number and details. However, only you are to know about this, and you are the only one allowed to use this. At least you're a responsible godfather, Jiraiya, Hiruzen said proudly. And as I was saying before your interruption, the second need is that of training him, Hiruzen added, placing the parchment into one of the file on the desk. I want to take him as my apprentice, and teach him in the way of shinobi life, he stated. Jiraiya was shocked. Hiruzen Sarutobi had never taken an apprentice in his entire life. His genin team was a tradition that was to be followed by every jonin of the village, and to take such an interest in little Naruto was quite surprising. He pondered for a moment, but nevertheless agreed to sign the required form. He himself wanted to train his godson, but his sensei would nurture the boy ideally. It was a bitter irony. He was supporting his sensei to train his godson, when he and his teammates hadn't fared best in their own lives, even after being trained by the same man. That's done. Anything else you want to discuss about sensei? Jiraiya asked impatiently. Yes, there is another issue regarding him that I would like to discuss with you, Hiruzen said as he placed the papers in the same folder he had put the account details in. As you may already know, Enma and his family have vowed their allegiance to the Sarutobi clan, and they will not accept a shinobi from any other clan. Hiruzen paused for a moment before continuing. The dilemma arises when it comes to him signing the contract. You don't need to worry about that, sensei. I have already thought of adding that brat's name to the Toad summoning contract. You can teach him all about summons and their support in battles. Jiraiya replied back. Call him here. I will retrieve the scroll in meantime, he added. Sandaime signaled an Umbu to call Naruto. 2 minutes later, the door to the Hokage chamber opened, and the young boy entered leisurely. Jiraiya peered at the boy in front of him and was stunned by the similarities he shared with his parents. As the days passed, he grew more confident in his decision. Hey Gigi, what you got there for Naruto started but halted his words when he noticed the big man with white spiky hairs, dressed in a red and green obi, standing next to Hiruzen. Naruto-kun, the Sandaime began, I have some good news for you. He stopped, however, noticing Naruto's curious gaze fixed on Jiraiya. Jiraiya, too, felt a bit nervous under the intensity of the blonde's gaze. Well, Naruto-kun, I see you're interested in learning more about this man, Hiruzen said, gesturing toward Jiraiya. This is Jiraiya, my student and your godfather. The Sandaime had decided to reveal his identity to Naruto. After all, Naruto deserved a family, a chance to form some bonds. Naruto's eyes widened for a moment before quickly darting to the floor. What do you need from me, Gigi? If it's not something important, then I must go, he said. I will be in my room if you need me. He shut the door behind him as he exited the chamber. Jiraiya, you should go and talk to him. He's likely sad because you didn't try to reach him earlier. He has always been bullied and hated in the orphanage. I believe that if Kakashi, Anko, or I hadn't intervened in his life earlier, he would have turned out totally different, even resentful, I must say. It will be better for you both if you talk to him yourself and also inform him about his living arrangements and training, Hiruzen encouraged him, patting him on the shoulders. He stopped in front of the room Naruto had been assigned, and knocked on the door. I don't want to talk, Gigi, came a short reply. Jiraiya opened the door quietly to find Naruto sitting curled up like a ball on the bed. He took a seat beside Naruto, who looked toward him but didn't say anything. Jiraiya placed his hand on the boy's head and said, I am sorry, kid. Your father's death was a pretty big shock for me. He was more of a son to me than anything else, and you are just a perfect replica of him. I was unable to handle it all in such a short span of time, so I took some time off to rein in my emotions. Naruto looked up toward him with teary eyes and asked, Do you hate me because I look like them? No, it's just the opposite, kid, Jiraiya said, denying what he had said by holding his hand up to stop Naruto from saying anything further. You know, you just look like your parents. I knew, if I spent any more time with you, I wouldn't be able to leave you for my missions, and at that time I needed some time to handle those emotions," he said. Before Jiraiya could say anything else, Naruto tackled him into a fierce hug. He clung to Jiraiya like a lifeline and cried his heart out. After 15 minutes of Jiraiya attempting to console him, Naruto calmed down and stopped crying. Jiraiya promised him that he would never leave him alone. After another 10 minutes of random conversation, he informed him about his living arrangements and his training. "Yay! I'm going to have my own home. Can I invite Inu and Ai-san and Enko Ne-san over to my house?" asked Naruto excitedly. Jiraiya chuckled at the blonde's enthusiasm and answered, "Yep, you can call them. But only those two. No new guests without my permission, do you understand?" Naruto simply nodded his head up and down in answer. "Will Gigi really train me?" he asked with wide eyes. "Yes, he will," Jiraiya answered gently. "Now don't go telling others that I'm related to you, that will cause problems for you. I have many enemies, kid, and they will target you to take revenge on me," explained Jiraiya, taking a more serious approach. Naruto's face instantly changed, from playfulness to seriousness. He nodded his head sincerely. Jiraiya took down the huge red scroll from his back and unrolled it, then he signaled Naruto to come closer. "This a gift from me for your birthdays that I missed, Gaki. It's a very cool jutsu that will let you call toads to help you," he explained him further. "Toads?" Naruto looked a little skeptical. "Can I have wolves, lions or something like that? Toads don't sound that strong," he whined, glancing at Jiraiya. "What disrespect! I can't believe my godson would stab me in the back by denying the awesomeness of toads," Jiraiya exclaimed animatedly, making Naruto giggle. "I am sorry, but I still don't think toads are that cool," Naruto proclaimed with innocent eyes. Jiraiya chuckled at Naruto's innocence. "Believe me, brat, toad summons are far better than any other summon." "Now stop whining so much," Jiraiya said as he laid out the scroll. "Just cut your finger and put your fingerprints where I tell you to, and write your name above it using the same blood." Jiraiya fully unrolled the scroll and there were several names etched with a maroon-colored liquid on the scroll, but only two of those names were familiar to Naruto, Jiraiya and Minato Namikaze. Jiraiya, the esteemed Toad Sage, was a figure of immense power, one of the legendary Sannin whose exploits echoed through the ninja world. During the brutal Second Shinobi War, his mastery of Toad summons and the formidable Toad Sage mode allowed him to single-handedly decimate entire battalions of enemy forces, earning him a reputation as an army killer, a shinobi whose strength rivaled that of a Kage. Yet, even this legendary figure was overshadowed by his own student, Minato Namikaze, the Yellow Flash. A former Hokage of unparalleled speed and skill, Minato's legend was etched in the annals of history for his astonishing feat of annihilating 1,000 IWA soldiers in a mere minute. His ultimate sacrifice in sealing the rampaging Kyuubi, the nine-tailed fox, further cemented his status. Minato was whispered to be the only known shinobi to have achieved the elusive SS rank in the elemental nations, a testament to his extraordinary abilities that warranted a chilling flee-on-sight order to any who dared to oppose him. His legacy as a protector and a force of nature remained unmatched. Naruto was jumping with excitement at the prospect of signing the summoning contract held by such legends. With a grimace, he quickly cut his finger and wrote his name beside Minato's, then thumbed his fingerprints below that. Jiraiya looked upon the name carefully for a moment before rolling it up and slinging it over his back. "Now, Naruto," he said, looking him in the eye, "you will not show your summoning skills to anyone but just Sarutobi-sensei, and myself. At the right time, he will teach you everything about summoning." Jiraiya spoke sincerely. Naruto nodded affirmatively in response. "Now that it's done, would you like to have some ramen?" asked Jiraiya, knowing his answer, and leading him to the Ichiraku stand. Anbu Interrogation Department. Enko dragged the bound Jonin to the torture cell for interrogation and eventual execution. Turning against a member of your own village was one of the most heinous crimes in Konoha. With an evil smirk, Enko strapped the man onto a chair, pouring down a green liquid into his mouth that intensified every feeling one experienced. "Now I will teach you why no one should ever intend to harm anyone who is dear to me," she drawled as she unwrapped her infamous torture rack. A few minutes later, the department echoed with screams that went on for several hours. All the agents wisely chose not to disturb Enko until the end of her session. This new victim raised Enko's bar slightly, but not enough to rival Inu-senpai's record. Yet, a goat-masked Anbu said as he entered the Anbu locker room. "What was the record again?" asked another occupant. "Enko-san has disposed of 2 wardens, 3 jonins, 2 chunins, and 1 assassin. While Inu Taishu has disposed of 4 wardens, 5 jonins, 3 chunins, and 2 assassins," recited the mouse Mastambu. The kid has endured a lot, don't you think? She continued. He surely did, said the goat Mastambu before exiting the room, signaling the end of their conversation. 8 hours later, Hokage Tower. Hiruzen was about to exit the chamber when a weasel Mastambu appeared kneeling in front of him. My lord, my father is planning something, the young man said nervously. There have been constant clan meetings, and the clan has become far more secretive than before. I am allowed to attend these meetings with Crow. Should I use this opportunity to keep an eye on them? Hiruzen sighed. The Uchiha clan has been in unrest since the Kyuubi attacked. The village as a whole knew that the last time the fox had visited Konoha it was under the control of the Uchiha Madara. As such, the Uchiha have been under constant scrutiny by some idiotic villagers. Hiruzen and the council didn't even spare a moment to review those claims. They were false. As much as they knew, the Uchiha had been sent to guard the hospital and bunkers for the duration of the whole attack. It seemed he didn't have any choice. He couldn't possibly let the renowned clan try something drastic. He peered toward Weasel for a second before nodding his head. Although he couldn't say that he hadn't noticed Fugaku's numerous journeys across the border of the Fire Country in the name of clan business in the past few years. Moreover, Hiroki Uchiha, the son of Kagami Uchiha, who was a friend of Hiruzen, had suspiciously disappeared recently. You and Crow are ordered to join the clan meetings. We don't need every details of the meeting, just the facts that will affect the village and its population. I also want you two to look after the case of Hiroki Uchiha, and you two are only answerable to me. Do you understand that? Hiruzen asked sharply. Weasel nodded and went on to relay the message to Crow. 7 years after Kyuubi incident. Sarutobi Hiruzen was a slave driver. Those were the thoughts of one blonde boy. He was exhausted from his physical training and drenched in sweat from head to toe. His training regime had been set by Hiruzen 2 years ago, on the very day they first met. He still remembered that day clearly. Flashback 2 years ago. Naruto was truly excited as he was to be trained by his Gigi. Hiruzen had called him an hour ago, and he was standing in front of the old leader right now, who was in a training armor. So, what are you going to teach me, Gigi? Naruto asked excitedly. I have some knowledge about kunai and shuriken. Are you going to teach me cool jutsu? When will you teach me summoning? Please tell me to Bayo. Naruto's eyes were as wide as saucers, and he was bouncing up and down on his heels due to the adrenaline rushing through his veins. Hiruzen said gently but in a deep voice, Stand still, Naruto. Naruto stood at his place straight. You won't be learning jutsu this early, that will be in time but not presently, Hiruzen stated calmly. The blonde lost the smile and instead pouted. He wanted to learn some awesome jutsu from his Gigi. The first 1.5 years would be spent on your physical training, and you will learn and master a taijutsu style given by me, Hiruzen stated calmly. Physical? Will I learn to jump on roofs like Inu and Ai-san? Naruto asked with slight tilt of his head. No, I'll teach you a taijutsu style. That's how to throw punches and kicks. You'll also work on how fast you cool move, Hiruzen explained calmly. Then I'll train in the art of bukijutsu, and mastery over a weapon of your choice, he continued. Busibumi, what's that thing, Gigi? Naruto questioned, confused as he had never heard of that word before. Hiruzen said with a chuckle, that's called bukijutsu, the art of using tools like kunais, shurikens, and explosives. Then lastly, we will move on to jutsu training, said Hiruzen sternly. From today onward, you will address me as sensei during your training sessions, and I will not tolerate any laxness in your training. Do you understand me, Naruto? He questioned. Naruto just nodded and replied with a hi, sensei. Flashback ends. He didn't know what he was getting himself into. His physical training was brutal. If he could use a word to describe it, that would be tiring. 3 laps around the village, 100 push-ups, pull-ups, and 150 squats. Moreover, Hiruzen kept increasing the number of exercises by 25, and the running distance by 2 miles, every 6 months. Hiruzen taught him a taijutsu style called the hummingbird style. Unbeknownst to him, it was the taijutsu style that Minato had created for himself. The kata was divided into 6 levels. The first 2 taught stances and defenses, while the next 3 moved on to utilizing various parts of the body, and finally culminated in using Hiranashi. Naruto was to be trained only till 5th level, as he didn't know the Hiruzen. For that matter, no one was able to decipher the move and the seal used in it, to copy it. Only the Hokage platoon knew the technique, and that too in a group of 3, not individual teleportation, as Minato himself had trained them in case of any emergency. Naruto had mastered the stances he'd been taught, and was now ready for the offensive moves. Jiraiya had returned several times to check on Naruto, On one of his birthdays, he had taught the boy one of his personal jutsus, the invisibility cloak. He had predicted Naruto would use it to peep into bathhouses, but unlike him, Naruto used it for stealth training. It was an useful jutsu for sneaking in and out of places as long as one could be silent enough. Jiraiya had also changed Naruto's dressing style. Naruto now wore a half-sleeve black tee with the Uzumaki clan's crest on the front, black pants, and blue shinobi sandals for training. For regular use, he wore a white tee instead of the black one, and an orange half-jacket over it. Hiruzen had started Naruto's weapon training months ago. After correcting his stances and accuracy in throwing shuriken, kunai, and other projectiles, Hiruzen had asked him about the choice of weapon he would want to learn. Naruto, quite stubbornly, asked Hiruzen to train him in bojutsu as he wanted to look cool like his sensei. He had completed stance training and was now moving on to guard positions for the said weapon. It was 5 o'clock in the evening, and Naruto was returning to his home. Hiruzen had given him an early leave as he was busy with some essential meetings. Naruto was still in his training clothes, and a wooden bow staff was wrapped in black cloth and tied to his back. He was passing by an alleyway when he heard voices behind the fence. His curiosity got the best of him, so he went on to check it out and found that 3 boys were picking on a lavender-eyed girl. His eyes darted toward the 3 boys pestering her, and his anger built up inside him. He despised bullies, having always fought them in the orphanage. "You're a Hyuga, aren't you? Your eyes look so weird," one of the boys scowled at her. "Yeah, they're all arrogant, and have weird white eyes," said another boy beside him. "I didn't do anything," said the timid voice of the little girl. Hinata was afraid. Her guard had gone to drink tea, leaving her to play on the swings. Suddenly, these 3 boys came around and started to push her around and berate her. The boy in the middle started to walk toward her, but suddenly a yellow blur appeared in front of her, and hit the boy with what looked like a big stick. The boy was on the ground, clutching his abdomen. "Hey, who are you? Why are you hitting us? We were just teaching her a lesson for her arrogance," said another boy. This broke the chain of thoughts running through Hinata's head, and she looked up. In front of her stood a yellow-haired boy wearing an orange jacket and black pants. He had a large stick in his hand and was standing in front of her protectively. "Leave her alone, and don't try to bully her again, or you will be taught a lesson by the future Hokage of this village," declared Naruto, determined. "Look here, Rika, someone is trying to play a hero. A Hokage wannabe, let's teach him a lesson," said the 3rd boy. "Yeah, let's beat him up," Shiba agreed, the now recognized Rika. "Yeah, bring it on, Tebeo," Naruto challenged them, taking his stance. The boy named Rika tried to punch him in the face, but he ducked underneath his fist and hit him in the abdomen with his wooden staff. His other friend tried to help him by grabbing the back of Naruto's jacket. The blonde retaliated with an elbow to the boy's face. Both the bullies were now on the ground, clutching their respective abdomens and faces where they had been hit. He turned around and smiled at the pale-eyed girl, extending his hand to help her up. Hinata took his hand and pulled herself up, thanking him shyly for his help. "Could I help you reach your home, Mom?" asked Naruto as he tried to get her name. "Hi, it's Hinata Hyuga," she answered timidly, looking down. "Hinata? That's a nice name, Hinata," Naruto complimented her with the iconic grin on his face. "By the way, my name is Naruto Uzumaki," he introduced himself. "Where do you live?" "Thank you. I live in the Hyuga Manor, Naruto-san," Hinata replied meekly. "Don't call me San, just Naruto is fine. So yeah, let's go, Hinata." He held her hand delicately and led her toward the big mansion that he had seen quite a few times. It had the word Hyuga written on its front in a large font on a board. His gentle yet firm touch caused her face to turn red, and her mind went blank for a few seconds. They reached her house after a short travel of 15 minutes. He let go of her hand and smiled at her. She bowed her head and said a thank you before running inside clumsily. "You're hunting princesses at this age, Gaki," came the amused voice of the one and only toad sage, Jiraiya. "Impressive." Naruto turned around and glared at him for his comment, but nonetheless tackled him in a hug. "How many times do I have to tell you to not do something like this in public, Baka?" Jiraiya scolded him fondly. "Let us go to your house, brat," Jiraiya said and held on to Naruto's hand to vanish in a seamless shunshin, only to reappear in Naruto's living room. They both failed to notice a Inu Mastumbu operative observing them, and smiling behind his mask. Naruto exclaimed, "Eroaji, what are you doing here?" at the sudden appearance of his godfather. A tick mark appeared on Jiraiya's forehead. "Hey! Don't call me that, you brat. I have come here to sign some papers for you. Don't you remember you're going to be enrolled in the academy next year?" "Yes, I remember that. I just didn't know you had to sign documents for that. By the way, I am going to be the best graduating genin the academy has ever seen, Tibeo, Naruto declared excitedly. Naruto was a very smart and observant boy, yet he still had his excited, loud-mouthed moments. However, during his training or sparring against Anko or Hiruzen, he was completely focused on the task. It sometimes unnerved Jiraiya that the brat could shut off his loud-mouthed side while training. Minato used to do something similar, albeit at a much older age. That's what I am here to discuss with you, Gaki. Jiraiya took a serious tone on the subject. You need to hide your skills and use deception at the academy. I want you to fail 2 or 1 of the annual exams in the first 2 years. Jiraiya held up a placating hand to stop Naruto from yelling in outrage. You are already on the hit list of many people, since the information has leaked a few years ago that you are being trained under Sarutobi-sensei. By showing your excellence, you will attract more attention, which we don't want to happen. We want you to be safe, Naruto. Treat this as a mission in deception and stealth. Requested Jiraiya with serious expressions, knowing full well that forcing the boy to do so would never work, for he was too stubborn just like his mother. But then no one will think that I am cool, and I won't be able to make friends, argued Naruto sadly. Let it be, Gaki. Real friends are those who hold on to you, overlooking your class ranking. And as for attention, there are more than a few people in this village that loves you dearly, including me. Jiraiya stated gently, but suddenly grinned mischievously. Moreover, I am pretty sure that the Hyuga princess will also like to be your friend after what you did for her today, brat, he said with a wink. Naruto spluttered out at that, and shot a questioning gaze on Jiraiya. Yes, I saw everything and I'm proud of you, Gaki. Jiraiya praised him, ruffling his hair. Naruto just half-heartedly punched Jiraiya legs for the comment on Hinata. He had just helped cause he didn't like bullies. Okay, I accept, but for just 2 years. Afterward, I'll show everyone how awesome I am, declared Naruto, pumping his fist. Well, I only need that much time, brat. You will be able to protect yourself after 2 more years of training from Sarutobi-sensei, to a certain extent. Besides, Kakashi and Anko are always present for you, mused Jiraiya. Now let's go to Ichiraku's. My treat today. Jiraiya chuckled at Naruto's speed to the ramen stand. The boy was too fond of the dish, similar to Kushina. 6 months later. Naruto was returning back from the training ground that Hiruzen used to train him in. He had begun the 3rd level of the hummingbird style, moving on to offense from defense and guards. His bojutsu was also on offensive levels now. He was walking down the path alongside the forest, when he heard some noises from inside. Hiruzen had instructed him to be on guard, as a convoy of shinobi had arrived from Kumogakure for a peace treaty. There was a possibility that they might have secret motives that could harm Konoha or cause disturbances. Thus, he went on to check, but being a bit cautious, he activated his invisibility jutsu. What he saw shocked him. In front of him was a blonde shinobi wearing a high taiyuk representing the lightning country, a white flak jacket on his body representing his rank as a jonin, and a brown sack draped over his back. The sack was moving constantly, indicating that someone was captured within it. As the Kumo shinobi adjusted the sack, it let out a familiar squeak. He immediately understood that an alive person was inside the sack. Judging by its size, it was a kid, which could only mean one thing: this shinobi was kidnapping a child from Konoha. He needed to do something quickly, something noticeable, that would allow the ANBU patrolling to pinpoint his location. He couldn't fight a jonin alone. Even if he was trained by Hiruzen, a jonin was out of his league. He focused and recalled the jutsu that the Sandaime had taught him as a reward for completing his 2nd stage of bojutsu. Unfortunately, performing that jutsu would cause fluctuations in his chakra system, causing the invisibility jutsu to wear off. He made the decision to take the risk, and formed the 6 hand seals for the jutsu. He put all his chakra into the seals and yelled Katan, Great Fireball Jutsu. A fireball of the same size as a human flew through the air. Naruto's affinity wasn't Katan, but Hiruzen had decided to teach Naruto to use jutsus from all the 5 elements. As it was ideal with Naruto's chakra reserve, he would be able to combine different elements like Hiruzen easily. Initially, he started with fire since it was more common in the fire country. The Kumo jonin heard the voice and stopped at the sight of a massive fireball flying in the air. He was awed by the capability of such a small kid using a C-rank jutsu, but was also cursing him for the attention that it would garner. The jonin dropped the sack on the ground and charged towards the blonde brat. He threw 2 kunai at Naruto. Naruto deflected them with ease, frowning at himself as he had used nearly half of the chakra from his reserve, and it would take quite some time to refill it. He was now helpless, and his mind went back to the day when that jonin had attacked him, and the resolve he took to deal with his own problems himself. The jonin smirked to himself. He had probably hit jackpot with this second kid. By the size of the fireball, it seemed that the blonde brat was from some clan, probably that Yamanaka clan. The color of his hair certainly indicated towards that. Naruto shut his eyes tightly, and tried to reach for his chakra again, but the adrenaline in his system and the feeling of helplessness caused some of the fox's chakra to come forth. He unintentionally grabbed it, and used it for his next fireball. The Kumo Jonin was about to charge but halted as a fireball, twice the size of the previous one, was fired towards him. He was shocked at the size of the fireball coming toward him. He tried to dodge it by jumping to the left, but the fireball caught the right side of his body, and he screamed in agony as his left side limbs and face were burned. Naruto left the man twitching on the ground and approached the sack, which was bouncing side to side continuously. He opened the knot on the top only to be tackled by a purple blur. He looked down to see pearl-like teary eyes of Hinata looking up at him. She started to cry profusely in his arms. He wasn't the best person to console someone, as he himself was rather scarce in that department. He did what he remembered Jiraiya did to him in the similar situation. He started patting her on the head, and told her that he would protect her. This was the moment Hiruzen, Hayashi, Kakashi, and 3 more Umbu reached their location. They had felt the large amount of chakra being used there, and calculated something was amiss. When they learned about Hinata being missing, they somewhat predicted that the events were related. Hayashi was stunned. The shinobi was one of the Jonins of Kumo, not an elite, but still a Jonin, and had been defeated by a 7-year-old boy. At this point, Hayashi recalled another instance, where Minato had also saved Kushina at the age of 8 from 3 Kumo Jonins. He was brought back from his musings by the firm voice of Hiruzen. Inu, take Naruto and Hinata to the hospital. Hayashi, you go with them. You 3 capture the Jonin and take him to the Umbu hospital, interrogate him, but keep him alive. We need an undeniable proof of Kumo's treachery. Half an hour later, the Konoha hospital. Hayashi was stressed. He had lost his wife last year due to the excessive loss of blood during the birth of his second daughter, Hanabi. His 2 daughters were the last piece of his wife and were too precious to him. Hinata shut down completely after his wife's death, and this latest incident only added more problems for him and his daughters. The clan elders would deem Hinata unworthy of the title of heiress due to her timid and shy nature, and would force him to place the caged bird seal on her. She would then be moved to the branch family, where she would be treated as a second-class Hyuga for the rest of her life. He can't let that happen. His wife would never forgive him for that. And his brother Hisashi won't tolerate it. Hisashi loved Hinata like his own daughter, and would definitely fight the whole clan for her. More importantly, he knew he couldn't allow it. His love for Hinata was too strong to let her endure such a thing. He needed to talk to Hiruzen immediately. On the other hand, Naruto was also worried. His first and only friend was in the examination room, being checked for injuries. Hinata had met him several times at the park, with Anko accompanying them, and they even went on to have a few bowls of ramen, where Ayam and Anko teased them about being a couple. He had blushed hard but denied the claims. Hinata had also become red in the face. Hinata walked out of the examination room slowly, her eyes falling upon Naruto. Her heart skipped a beat as she gazed at him. The golden-haired boy had truly been a savior for her, having saved her twice thus far without making fun of her stuttering or timid nature. His captivating blue eyes were mesmerizing to her. She had never seen anything like them before. As she became increasingly nervous, she began doing what she did best, sticking her index fingers together. Naruto saw Hinata coming out of the examination room, and went up to talk to her. Hey, Hinata, he said. Did you get injured? Did that man hurt you? If he did, just tell me, and I'll beat him up again. No, I am fine, Naruto-kun, Hinata said, fixing her gaze downward. And thank you for rescuing me. Hinata's voice trembled slightly as she spoke. She had opted to call him Naruto-kun after their first meeting, and truth be told, Naruto liked it. He felt like he could be himself around her. She felt like a burden. This was the second time Naruto had helped her, and if this kept up, she would feel like a burden to him, at least in her mind. 2 days later. Kumo, or particularly the third Raikage, had thought that Konoha would have killed the Jonin sent for kidnapping the Hyuga, if he was caught. Thus, they tried to cash in the opportunity to get Hayashi Hyuga. However, unexpectedly, Konoha had kept the prisoner alive and moved him in front during the negotiations. Though Jiraiya had destroyed the chakra networks of the Jonin, by applying overpowered paralysis seal developed by Minato on the Jonin's chakra network instead of nervous system. The seal was too powerful and restrictive for the chakra network to handle, and as a result it collapsed completely. However, this whole fiasco also resulted in an additional entry being added to the bingo book in Kumogakure, listing an E-rank shinobi. Name, unknown. Aliases, none. Description, a young boy of around 7 or 8 years old, possibly an academy student. Abilities: can use Sirenkatan ninjutsu and can use bow staffs. Caution: not applicable. Bounty: 12,000 ryu for live capture and 10,000 ryu for dead. Naruto was walking through the village happily. He had been shown his bingo book entry by Hiruzen, but was ordered not to take such risks again. He had gotten the day off, and was on his way to see Hinata. He was strutting through the park, searching for his friend, when he heard sobbing coming from behind a large tree. Curious, Naruto went over to investigate and found Hinata sitting behind the tree, her knees raised to her chest, and she was crying silently. Naruto immediately sat beside Hinata, asking, "Hinata? What happened? Why are you crying?" Hinata looked up toward him, and said, They threatened to brand me and disavow me." He rubbed circles on her back and assured her that he would always be there for her. After half an hour, she finally stopped crying. Naruto looked down to see the face of a sleeping Hinata in his lap. He fought back his blush vigorously at the closeness, and shook her. She woke up frantically, and tried to jab him. It was only due to the sparring sessions with Hiruzen that he was able to dodge it at the last second. Naruto was amazed. Hinata had told him about her problems while using her clan's taijutsu, but her reflexes and reaction times were something else entirely. He asked her to follow him so they could talk about it in private. He led her to his home and made her sit on the couch in the living room. He went into the kitchen to bring something to eat for her. She was probably hungry from all the crying she had done. He cut an apple and brought a glass of milk to her. Meanwhile, Hinata was looking around the living room. The house was of a decent size. Not as big as her mansion, but big enough for a family of 4 or 5. There were several pictures of Naruto with the Hokage, Jiraiya, Anko, and an unknown person, a white-haired man with his half-face covered by a mask. "Hey, Hinata! I brought you some fruits and milk. I've started learning how to cook from Ina and I, but I'm not as good at it yet," said Naruto, placing the plate of apples and milk on the table. He asked her kindly, "Are you okay now?" Nodding affirmatively, Hinata responded with a nod of her own. Naruto sat beside her and started to converse with her. "You know, you don't look weak to me, Hinata. Especially not after your reaction when I woke you up." Hinata blushed red at that statement. She had nearly hit him with one of her chakra-enhanced hands. "Why don't you show them your precision and fighting prowess? They might just change their minds about you." "Because they use their family members to practice jukken, and I don't like hurting people," Hinata replied weakly. "Those bastards. Are they mad? Using their own clan members as practice dummies." Naruto gritted his teeth. He said determinedly, "I will inform Hokage Gigi of this." Hinata looked a bit pale at the prospect. If the clan elders found out who had disclosed their secret, they wouldn't hesitate to force Hayashi to disown her from the clan. Noticing the strain on Hinata's face, Naruto calmed her down. "Don't worry, Hinata. I will make sure that your name is not revealed anywhere." Hinata looked up to Naruto and nodded. She conversed with him for quite some time before he dropped her off at the Hyuga estate. He then went on to eat at Ichiraku's. The next morning, Naruto recounted everything to Hiruzen. Hiruzen was tense. He knew the Hyuga were prideful, but using one's own kin as a practice dummy seemed cruel. He would have to talk to Hayashi about it. Besides, it seemed that the most powerful clans in the village were causing more problems for Konoha. After 2 years of spying, it had become clear that the Uchiha clan was planning a coup d'etat against the Hokage. Fugaku had planned to kill Hiruzen and take the post of Hokage after killing the elders in Danzoo. Same night in Hokage Tower. 5 people could be seen standing in the Hokage chamber, conversing among themselves. 2 of them were Umbu, namely Weasel and Crow, while the rest 3 were Jiraiya, Danzoo, and the Hokage himself. "According to the last meeting, they are going to make a move on the day after tomorrow," Jiraiya said thoughtfully. Weasel nodded in response. "We need to do something, Hiruzen. We can't let them go forward with this plot. This will not just start a civil war in the village, but other villages will take the opportunity to attack us," stated Danzoo sternly. "Weasel and Crow, remove your masks. We will talk face to face now, and Jiraiya, please put a full-level security seal around the room," ordered Hiruzen firmly. Crow removed his mask to reveal Shurashue Uchiha, the grandson of Kagami Uchiha. He was also known as Shushin no Shurashue, the moniker given to him by Kumo for his 80 kills in the Valley of Black River during the last war. He had lost his best friend in that skirmish, and that had awakened his Manjikyu. He then killed all the opposing shinobi forces with his famed Shunshin technique, in vengeance. The Weasel removed his mask to reveal Itachi Uchiha, the elder son of Fugaku Uchiha and the current heir of the Uchiha clan. These two were the sole holders of the Will of Fire currently within the famed Uchiha clan. Hokage-sama, may I elaborate on their plans? Asked Shisui composedly. Hiruzen shook his head and gestured for him to continue. Fugaku Uchiha had planned to capture the Kyubi Jinchuriki, and use his Hyuga friend to emotionally break him to the point where he could break the seal and extract the Kyubi. Then he would seal it in his younger son, Sasuke, and use him as a means of destruction. Shisui clarified the plans of his treacherous clan head. That bastard will never get his hands on my godson, growled the white-haired Sannin. I will tear that man to pieces even if he tries to come near him. He is no longer a man. He is a monster who will not recognize any limits until his hunger for power is satisfied, Itachi interjected stoically, though an edge was still evident in his voice. To fall to a level where he would not hesitate to use his own son, my brother, as a pawn, vowed Itachi decisively. I will never let that happen. I have a proposition for the welfare of the village, Hokage-sama offered Itachi in an emotionless voice. What do you suggest, Itachi? Asked Hiruzen contemplating. I will kill Fugaku, the clan elders, and all those who are willing to carry out the coup d'etat by their own orders. However, Shisui, Sasuke, some of the adults, and children will not be harmed, as they are not involved in this coup. But you must promise me that the news of this coup will not leave this room, requested Itachi calmly. But I want to help you in this, Itachi. You shall not do it alone, protested Shisui. Hiruzen and Danzoo were musing about the prospect, and Jiraiya was frowning at the thought of so many people being killed. No, we need someone powerful enough to lead the clan, Shisui. Besides, you will lead the clan more effectively than I would. Itachi denied his request. Sensei, this would be outrageous. We cannot kill a whole clan just for the treachery of one man. This is not right. We could arrest him and then execute him. That will break the will of the clan members and will able to restrict them. Jiraiya cut it. It was Danzoo who answered. You don't understand this, Jiraiya. Fugaku has the support of most of his clan. The Uchiha clan consists of 112 members. 72 are adults, 36 males and 36 females. Moreover, the clan also houses 27 teenagers, including Itachi and Shisui, and 13 kids. Out of the 112 members, 30 males, 28 females, 22 teenagers support Fugaku's idea of a coup. Tobirama-sensei used to say that no one loves more than an Uchiha, and none hates more than an Uchiha. They will retaliate far more aggressively if we execute their clan head. They have at least 40 fully developed Sharingan, and 2 Mangekyo Sharingan in the form of Fugaku and Mikoto Uchiha. Yes, I agree with Danzoo this time, Jiraiya. We don't want to do this, but we have tried everything else to earn their trust, but they will not leave their kin's shadow for us, said Hiruzen in a voice that indicated that a Hokage needs to take such disgusting, sinful and painful decisions for welfare of the village. Itachi pondered for a moment, and said, so it's decided, I will do it tomorrow night. I just want some promises. First, you've to save Sasuke from the darkness of revenge. Second, Shisui will lead the Uchiha clan from now on. And third, I will take up the blame and become a missing ninja and will spy for Konoha from outside. It's decided, Itachi Uchiha. This is an S-ranked mission, and its details are to be kept secret. You'll execute Fugaku and his supporters, and I promise to save Sasuke from any harm, ordered Hiruzen. And thus the majority of the Uchiha clan was massacred by Itachi and a spiral-masked individual. Sasuke Uchiha, a 10-year-old boy with ink-black hair, was one of the few Uchihas still alive. Only 3 children, 6 men, 8 women, and 5 teenagers survived the clan massacre. Out of the 22 survivors, only 14 Uchiha had acquired the Sharingan, and he was not one of them. Sasuke was one of only 2 surviving members of his family, and the other was the man he had admired as a brother. Itachi Uchiha was a traitor to his clan, village, and family. Sasuke had always idolized Itachi, but that fateful night he had lost everything. That fateful night, which lasted for over 12 hours, had taken everything away from him. Asterisk flashback, 3 years ago. Sasuke Uchiha was pacing around his house compound, waiting for his brother to come and train him. Itachi had started training him in shuriken and kunai throwing. He had also emphasized teaching him the use of ninja wires with them. Sasuke's father was a strict and cruel man in Sasuke's eyes. At one point, Fugaku had even tried to thrash Sasuke with a whip when Sasuke threw a tantrum over Onijirai. Fortunately, Itachi had saved him. On the other hand, his mother was a very sweet and caring woman, who loved both her sons equally. An hour had passed when he heard distant cries from the clan area. Suddenly, he heard several screams of terror and fear echoing throughout the area. His mother ushered him into his room and instructed him to stay there no matter what he heard. Time passed, and he waited for her reassurance, but it never came. Only muffled noises drifted from downstairs. Discreetly, he climbed down the stairs to investigate what was happening. He moved toward the room where the noises were coming from as quietly as possible. He slid open the wooden door quietly. However, what he saw inside dried his blood to the core. His brother was poised above their father's body with a blood-dripping tanto impaled through the man's back. Yet that wasn't what horrified him. On the other side of the room, the most precious person in his life, his mother, lay in the pool of her own blood. Then he saw the killer's eyes etched into his soul, two crimson orbs with a shuriken-like pattern, peering at him devoid of any emotion. Flashback ends. That sight had been haunting Sasuke for 3 years now, and he still had nightmares about that fateful night. The pain of loneliness and suffering accompanied those nightmares. He was not the last surviving member of his clan. Albeit, due to his brother's deed, he was feared and ignored by most of the villagers. People heard and believed that Itachi had slaughtered his clan to test his power. Therefore, they feared him. They feared that if he snapped, he would go on a similar killing spree. However, nobody knew that it was far from the truth. He wasn't like Itachi. He never wanted power or prestige that was unlike him. He just strove to avenge his mother. He didn't care about his father or the clan. They had never acknowledged him, but his brother and mother did. So, his aim was to avenge her. But before he did that, he needed to know why his brother had done what he did. Because, as much as he knew Itachi, his elder brother had always been kind and loving, especially towards Sasuke. He was the top student of his class at the academy. Only a few students could keep up with him. And even fewer would dare to have any kind of interaction with him. The only boy who did tease him was Naruto Uzumaki, the blonde idiot. He wasn't as daft as he let on. Sasuke had caught him pulling back his punches and kicks. He had also noticed Naruto's seemingly weak punches weren't just due to a lack of skill, they were strategic. Naruto's strikes focused on joints and weak points, a tactic not employed by mere brawlers. Only trained martial artists understood that the impact of striking those areas was far more destructive than it appeared. Naruto had failed the first 2 years of the academy, and was labeled a loser who couldn't do anything right, but that was far from the truth, and Sasuke knew it. Only 3 individuals in the entire village offered Sasuke any genuine positive regard. Foremost was his clan head, Shursui Uchiha, who consistently went out of his way to support Sasuke, though he held off on formal training until the boy had truly earned his trust. The second was the Hokage, who would periodically visit Sasuke, checking on his well-being and offering help should any difficulties arise. Finally, there was the ever-present blonde, Naruto Uzumaki, who relentlessly tried to engage Sasuke, often resorting to playful goading in his attempts to elicit a response from the usually aloof Uchiha. Naruto woke up early to complete his morning exercise routine before heading to school. For the past 2 years, he had been following this exact routine, except for off days. After finishing his exercise regime, he got ready to attend the academy. A sudden knock echoed through his solitary room, prompting him to investigate the unusually early visitor. Upon opening the door, he found himself face to face with an Umbu operative wearing a distinctive horse mask. The masked ninja relayed a message. The Hokage required his presence with haste this morning. Swiftly, he donned his usual attire, a form-fitting, half-sleeved black tee beneath a sleeveless orange jacket, paired with blue pants and practical black shinobi sandals. This was a stark contrast to the boisterous, orange-clad persona he often projected, the loudmouthed, seemingly talentless brat who incessantly declared his ambition to become Hokage, a carefully constructed deception. Exiting his apartment, he secured the lock and concealed the key beneath a loose stone floor panel, a spot easily accessible to Inu or Anko should they come searching. With this done, he made his way to his sensei. Naruto strode into the Hokage chamber, finding Hiruzen and Jiraiya already present. He moved to stand beside Jiraiya, who affectionately ruffled his hair. "You called for me, sensei," Naruto said respectfully, a formality that surprised Jiraiya. Uzumaki Naruto's disregard for convention was well known. "Yes, Naruto, I called for you. We have an important matter to discuss, and delaying it serves neither of us," Hiruzen affirmed, placing his hat on the table. "Are you considering increasing my training? Or did I make a mistake?" Naruto asked with a hint of nervousness, eager to avoid upsetting his sensei. His last transgression had resulted in a week's worth of training condensed into grueling 2 days, leaving him utterly exhausted despite his remarkable stamina, a testament to Hiruzen Sarutobi's rigorous methods. His fear was not unfounded, as it wasn't out of the ordinary for his sensei to call him up in the early hours of the morning. "No, nothing like that," Hiruzen denied. "Today, we have decided to inform you about something crucial. Initially, we had agreed to notify you of this after you've graduated from the academy," Hiruzen said, standing up and walking to the open window. "However, as your training results suggest, you are competent enough to understand this. Jiraiya, you have the right to tell him." Sandaime instructed Jiraiya and opted to gaze outside. Naruto, do you remember the story surrounding the Yondaime Hokage and the Kyuubi? Jiraiya asked. Yes, Yondaime fought and defeated the Kyuubi, but he had to sacrifice his life for that. Naruto answered, getting a little sad at the end. He has always idolized Yondaime Hokage as his hero. His untimely death due to the Kyuubi wasn't liked by most of the village, including him. It's only half-truth, Naruto. The Kyuubi is a being purely made of chakra and cannot be killed, it can only be sealed in a living vessel, Jiraiya clarified. The truth is, on that day, the Yondaime sealed the fox inside me, didn't he? Naruto interjected softly, looking down, unable to meet the eyes of either two. How did you? Jiraiya started to ask but was cut off by Naruto. It's the only explanation. The villagers fear and avoid me. My birth date and the date of the Kyuubi attack are the same. I have also noticed that when I use my chakra, a seal appears on my stomach. Naruto rambled, but the words were coherent enough for them to understand. Did my parents love me? If they did, then why would they leave me to be used as the Kyuubi's vessel? Naruto posed his questions in a quivering voice. His nose was crinkled, and his eyes were filled with tears. It was astonishing that Naruto was able to calculate all of this by the help of mere hints. Their thoughts always revolved around the idea that he had inherited Kushina's keen sense of observation, sharp but still somewhat untrained. However, it was clear by his ability to procure results that Naruto was just like his father in many aspects. They both had learned a lesson that day: one should never underestimate Uzumaki Naruto. Jiraiya knelt in front of Naruto and gripped his shoulders firmly. That's not what it is, Naruto, he said. You've learned how to seal things in paper seals, right? Does the paper change into the thing that you're sealing inside it? Naruto shook his head in negative. The same could be said about the seal on your stomach. You're just a jailer for that monster, and that doesn't make you the monster itself, Jiraiya continued as Naruto looked up to peer at him expectantly. As for your parents, I've never seen anyone being as happy as them for their child. The only thing that I can tell you about them is that they were true heroes who sacrificed their lives for the sake of the village, Jiraiya said, praising Minato and Kushina to lift up his mood. Do you understand? Supportive Jiraiya asked. Yes, I understand, Naruto replied as he wiped the tears from his eyes. Now go on, you have classes to attend. Make your godfather proud, Naruto. Jiraiya patted his back and led him out of the gate. Naruto nodded his head and went on to Ikaraku's house for breakfast. At first, Naruto was tense upon hearing this news, but now he was relieved by Jiraiya's explanation. He would train his hardest in one day. He would show everyone that he was nothing like the Kyuubi. Naruto prepared for his first day of third year. From today onward, he would be able to show everyone that his failure was not permanent. He had completed his training in stealth and deception, and only a few were suspicious of his abilities. Those selected few were Sasuke Uchiha, Shikamaru Nara, Hinata Hyuga and Yumino Irika. Sasuke was his rival, who he had been set on defeating from the beginning of the academy. The Uchiha was one of the best students in the academy, and Naruto was determined to prove himself just as capable. Through their taijutsu sparring sessions, Sasuke noted how Naruto held back his strikes. Shikamaru, on the other hand, was a genius in disguise. He had helped Naruto plan some of his most deceptive traps for pranks, and he knew that the Nara boy had a suspicion about him. Though he was a friend, so he just let it slide. Hinata Hyuga has changed completely over the past 3 years. She is now much more confident and has not lost any taijutsu spars apart from the one to Sasuke. Even the brash Kiba is no match for her. Her uncle Hizashi has taken up her training and trained her in taijutsu. He has also increased her chakra reserve by constantly depleting it, and her chakra control, which was already precise due to her Byakugan. Finally, Iruka was like a big brother to him. Therefore, Naruto let him see some of his moves from the hummingbird style. His training with Hiruzen was far more tiring and harsher than he had anticipated. His laps around the village had increased to 9, with 250 push-ups, 250 pull-ups, and 300 squats. Additionally, his Bojutsu was at the 4th level out of 7. He had mastered defensive techniques, and was working on strength attacks. The Sarutobi-style Bojutsu had 7 levels: stances, guards, defenses against taijutsu, strength attacks, speed attacks, low-level ninjutsu with the bow, and finally, the hardest, combining elemental jutsu with the bow. Moreover, his taijutsu was also incorporating strength attacks to joints. He wasn't trained in summoning techniques yet, however, he had taken up an interest in seals. Jiraiya was overjoyed to teach the basics of sealing to Naruto, as he had also taught Minato. However, as with Minato, he illustrated everything with books and theory. Naruto was unlike his father in that department, hence, he had to be taught by a practical method, and try-fail method. Naruto was able to use a wind technique called futon, wind bullet, after rigorous practice. Although he could only manifest them to the size of a tennis ball, it was still better than nothing. On his 10th birthday, Jiraiya had given him his precious Gamakan, and some handmade resistance seals at level 0.50x, enough to increase his speed but not too much to stunt his growth. However, after all the explanations given by Hiruzen and Jiraiya, he didn't want to show his abilities, he just wanted to lock himself in a room. But Naruto Uzumaki never backed down from a challenge. No matter how hard it was, he would reveal his true potential today to everyone. He had dressed himself and was walking towards the academy, musing about Kyuubi. He was either ignored or frowned upon by most of the villagers. He had once tried to gain their attention by pranking them mercilessly, but was stopped by Hiruzen, who explained to him how gathering negative attention was worse than no attention at all. He still pranked them, but not to get attention, instead for fun. After all, he's Uzumaki. He entered the classroom to see only two people present there, Hinata and Sasuke. They both peered toward him as if he was an enigma, probably due to his early arrival and new wardrobe. Sasuke raised an eyebrow at him and then returned back to his silent musing. Naruto always felt that Sasuke shared his loneliness. They both lived alone, didn't have parents, and most of all, both were either feared or frowned upon by the villagers. Hinata was also glancing toward him while poking her finger together. She was confident around others, but was somehow still nervous around him. He smiled at her before taking a seat behind Hinata and gazed out the window at the training grounds. 30 minutes later, the entire class had filled up, but everyone still felt like something was missing. Even Iruka was slightly unnerved as he entered the class to see it so quiet, well, as silent as it could be without Naruto's yelling. He searched the classroom for Naruto and found him sitting in the back, staring out the window quietly. This behavior was unlike the blonde bundle of trouble and joy. To say Iruka was stunned was an understatement. Naruto had answered all the questions correctly. He was just second to Sasuke Uchiha in shuriken and kunai throwing, and the taijutsu spar was something else. The spar was as usual between Sasuke and Naruto. They bowed to each other, but didn't move for several seconds after that. This wasn't like Naruto. He would go headfirst into spars, but today something was going to change for the blonde. Eventually, a slight breeze signaled the start of their spar. Sasuke charged first, as he was interested in seeing what Naruto would do. Sasuke threw a right punch that was blocked by Naruto's right forearm. He then tried to grab Naruto's arm, which was avoided by Naruto's stepping back. Naruto caught Sasuke's extended right hand and kicked his abdomen, making him lose a little balance. To Sasuke, the kick felt fast but strong, not quite like Naruto. Naruto went on to deliver a bicycle kick to Sasuke, which was caught and used as leverage for a left high kick to his face. However, it was blocked by both his arms. The bout continued with the two genins engaged in a fast-paced, intense fight, leaving everyone watching them truly awed by the level of taijutsu skill both academy students displayed. Kicks, punches, and grabs flowed fluidly between them, making it seem as if they were dancing. If a kick landed on Naruto, he would return with a punch of his own. Naruto was enjoying this. Sparring with Anko and Hiruzen were fun, but not quite like this. Sasuke was perfectly matched with him. If he had strength and speed, Sasuke had flexibility and accuracy. He extended his limits and removed his resistance seal by molding his fingers into a ram seal. This caused problems for Sasuke. Naruto was already fast, but after making the hand seal, he was much faster. Sasuke was not able to use the edges to his benefit now. After nearly 10 minutes of Naruto dominating him, Sasuke was frustrated. The spar was going head-to-head until that strange hand seal thing. He dropped a punch on Naruto. As expected and similar to his last few attempts, it was blocked by Naruto's forearm. As to not take a chance, he tried to uppercut Naruto with his free arm. Naruto caught it and delivered a kick to his chest, which stopped the air from entering his lungs for a moment, and his feet left the ground. Naruto was about to jump for his roundhouse kick when he noticed both of Sasuke's eyes changing red with one tomo in each eye. For Sasuke, it felt like his eyes were on fire for a few seconds and then suddenly the pain went away. His vision became clearer than before. He could also follow up on Naruto's movements and foresee his next movements somewhat. It wasn't like he could see the future. No, he could only guess, accurately so, where his next punch or kick would be aimed at. Naruto heard a wow from the crowd and found the culprit covering her mouth, Sakura Haruno. She was a civilian student with pink hair and could be always seen beside Ino Yamanaka. Naruto had heard that she was bullied because of her hair and forehead, but he didn't give much attention to it. Instead, Naruto stopped his onslaught and smirked a little at his rival. "It looks like you've finally acquired your pink eyes, congratulations," he mocked. Sasuke's eyes widened before a grin found its place on his face. He was both happy and curious. Happy, because he had his Sharingan now, which his clan was so proud of, and curious, because he had heard that Sharingan can only emerge when one feels a tremendous amount of physical or mental pain. He nodded to Naruto as a sign of thanks. Naruto wasn't like others. Sasuke had seen the looks that Naruto received from villagers. Yesterday, he had suspected that Naruto might be slightly stronger, but today his suspicions were proven true. Naruto was at least equal to him, if not stronger. In another timeline, he might not have tolerated this because he was spoiled rotten by the villagers' praise and support, since he was the last of his clan. But in this timeline, he too was a loner like Naruto, feared and ignored by the villagers for his brother's deeds. Iruka called the match a tie and went on to congratulate both boys. His ruffled Naruto hairs and patted Sasuke's back. Shikamaru knew that the blondie was troublesome. He had concluded this through his observations. He had observed him several times, and Shikamaru was now convinced that Naruto's full power was still not on display. He and Choji had known Naruto since they were children. They used to roam around the village and play pranks together. Unlike other parents, their parents didn't fear the Kyuubi. They had been classmates with Minato, and they trusted his skills in the sealing art. They respected and trusted him, and the same applied to Naruto. Shikaku Nara, Shikamaru's father, possessed the knowledge of Naruto's parentage and held deep respect and trust for the sacrifices made by them and their son for the sake of Konoha and its inhabitants. He understood the weight Naruto carried and the legacy he represented. Shikamaru walked next to Naruto. "So, my presumption was right," he said. "You were holding back all this time, you troublesome blonde." He added with a smirk, "By the way, congratulations on your win against the loner." His voice was filled with more amusement than any real grudge. "Yep, munch, you were totally munch, awesome man." Choji joined Shikamaru, munching his potato chips. "Thanks guys. Wanna have a bite at Ichiraku after class?" Naruto offered, as the three of them regularly visited Ichiraku together for lunch. "Troublesome, but why not? I think we should bring Kiba along with us, he's been behaving nicely for quite some days." Naruto shrugged in response. Shikamaru was his childhood friend. If he thought it was a good idea to bring Kiba along, then there was nothing to discuss. "Looks like my next match is up, trouble," Shikamaru mumbled to himself. Naruto smiled at the two boys. They were more valuable than they themselves knew. Naruto wasn't an idiot to not understand the pressure the parents of his classmates placed upon them to stay away from him. Still, these two were always there with him. Perhaps their parents weren't like others. After a few minutes, he strolled towards Sasuke and stood beside him. He eyed the onyx-eyed boy cautiously and poked his ribs. Sasuke hit his hand off and glared at him. "Hey! No need to get offensive," Naruto said, a little amused by the boy's short temper. "I was just here to ask if you wanted to come with us to Ichiraku for a small treat? Me, Shika, Choji, and Kiba are going. You're welcome, only if you want." Naruto waved him and stood beside Shikamaru, who had his match called off because of Shikamaru's refusal to fight Choji. After the school day ended, the five of them went to the Ichiraku for ramen. Choji, Naruto, and Kiba had a ramen competition, while Shikamaru and Sasuke spent their time gazing upon the trio's antics while eating. It was rather gross if you asked Sasuke, whereas Shikamaru was familiar with Naruto's and Choji's antics. Kiba wasn't that surprising if he considered his behavior in class. They paid for their meals and traveled to a nearby park to relax, at least that's what Choji and Naruto needed. Their stomachs were bloated from the heavy amount of noodles they had consumed. Shikamaru took a seat under a tree and closed his eyes for a quick nap, while Naruto, Kiba, and Choji were conversing amongst themselves, and Sasuke was gazing above in the sky. "I still can't believe it, dude. 8 bowls of ramen? That's a feat in itself. I can only eat 6, and Kiba, here, wasted away after 4. Naruto said, sounding astonished. "You three are all quite troublesome. Can't you see I'm taking a nap here?" Shikamaru said in an irritated voice. "Yeah, and you are the laziest of us all. It's look like all your chakra goes to your brains, not your body," lazy ass retorted Kiba, annoyed at the lazy boy. "Don't be so loud, dog breath," Sasuke bit back. It was indeed a new feeling for him. These 4 didn't fear or judge him. Although Kiba and Naruto were loud, Choji was foodie to his core, and Shikamaru was as lazy as a sloth, yet he somehow fit with them. It was hard for Sasuke to make friends. Even if he did, they were quite mistrustful of him. That was not the case with these 4. Naruto seemed to be the middle of the group. Choji and Shikamaru were long-term friends of his, and Kiba was probably new to the group, similar to Sasuke. Still, they didn't act as if they hadn't known each other for long. Naruto was frank with everyone, While Choji was careless in that regard, Shikamaru was sharp but didn't act without Naruto's agreement, and Kiba was as loud and brash as one could be, yet, he didn't comment on anything offensive. Sasuke still had to find his place in this group, but that didn't mean he was left out or ignored. Rather, they made as much effort as they could to draw him out of his shell. 2 months later, Naruto was walking towards the Hokage Tower for his daily training. From the next day onward, Hiruzen would start his ninjutsu training, consisting of all the 5 elements. It would at least take him 6 years to be able to use all the elements, and another 10 to master each element completely. With that, he would also learn summoning, but that was all for tomorrow. At least the academy now offered some companionship. Shikamaru and Choji had been his friends for years. Kiba and even the perpetually brooding Sasuke had joined their small group. Often, Kiba or Naruto would playfully provoke Sasuke, knowing the Uchiha's volatile temper. Kiba had learned the painful consequences of this firsthand, once igniting Sasuke's pants. Yet, undeterred, the Inuzuka boy continued his teasing, both verbally and with literal pokes, much to the amusement of the others. He entered the Hokage chamber quietly and took a seat on the sofa, waiting for his sensei to complete the paperwork. This was something he had learned from the old leader, observing people. His sensei had taught him that a shinobi should be observant and composed. "Ah, Naruto, sorry for the delay, but this was a last-moment permission slip. Let us go to the training ground in basement," said Hiruzen, looking up to Naruto from his paperwork. The training ground in the basement was only named as such. It was approximately 20 feet high, 30 long and 25 wide, with numerous weapons displayed on its walls. The room was formerly used by Tobirama Senju, the second Hokage and mentor of Hiruzen. Initially, it was used by the former Hokage or their apprentices for personal training purposes. The room had blue tile floors, green walls, and a red roof. Hiruzen had scheduled the day to help Naruto tap into the endless reserve of chakra within his seal. It should be done under the supervision of a skilled and formidable shinobi. Attempting it without any support would not be a very smart idea. "So today, I want you to meditate and focus on finding the fox's chakra within your seal," Hiruzen instructed as he shrugged off his Hokage robes to reveal the training armor he wore underneath. "I know you don't want anything to do with him, but having such a vast amount of raw chakra and not utilizing it would be a waste, Naruto," explained Hiruzen, noting the hesitation in Naruto to tap into the power of the fox that had destroyed the village and likely killed his parents. Naruto nodded reluctantly, still not keen on the prospect of taking aid from the maniacal beast. He sat down cross-legged and focused on his mind to find the second chakra within his system. The attempt continued for over an hour before his eyes suddenly opened into a sewer-like place with pipes going around. He stood up to assess his surroundings. Much to his surprise, the area was not a sewer but a tunnel of some sort. There were several pipes going around with the walls. At least the place wasn't stinking bad. He decided to walk forward where the pipes were more clustered together than others. After an hour or so of tireless walking, he reached a large, vast room, with huge metallic gates in the middle of the area, with a piece of paper stuck in between them that reflected kanji 4 seal. He moved closer to the gates slowly. One thing was clear, there was a being behind those doors. Malice was evident in the attempt to reach the being with his sensory ability. Rip, tear, destroy, demolish. The words rang out like an alarm through his senses, and he quickly severed the connection. "Anybody there?" "I know you are there, whoever you are," Naruto inquired a little adamantly. The reply came in the form of 2 bright red eyes with slit, and a huge amount of killer intent filled with hate and contempt spreading through the hall. Naruto was pushed out of his mind. He came back sweating profusely. "I was not able to find it, sensei. I can only feel my chakra, and not the other one," Naruto lied. "Thought so. Well, I remember that you told me that you can't use clone jutsu." Naruto stood up and nodded his head in affirmation. "That's because you have too much chakra to use normal bushin. I am going to teach you 2 types of bushins. The first technique is a kinjutsu due to its high chakra usage, while the second one is an elemental jutsu. You know that you aren't allowed to show these techniques to anyone before your academy graduation exams, right?" Hiruzen asked knowingly. Naruto nodded in acceptance. Hiruzen swiftly formed 5 intricate hand seals, and with a puff of smoke, solid clones materialized beside him. Additional clones shimmered into existence instantly behind the Hokage, their forms appearing remarkably tangible to Naruto, unlike the usual intangible normal clones he was accustomed to seeing. These are shadow clones, a technique commonly known only to Konoha shinobi, developed by Naidame-sama. Unlike standard clones, these are solid manifestations, not mere illusions. They have other applications, which I will teach you later. For now, focus on forming these 5 hand seals and creating a single solid clone," Hiruzen said. Hiruzen taught him shadow clones, which can be used to speed up his training in elemental manipulation by several folds. Furthermore, Naruto can use them to perform combination jutsu. Naruto tried it twice without any success. The third time he focused more on the clone structure rather than hand signs, and that brought him success. He was able to conjure 10 clones in his first successful attempt. He was then instructed to practice forming no more than 2 clones, and the training continued throughout the evening. In addition, Naruto learned a Doton technique called Doton, rock clone, during that month. Sasuke was walking towards Shishui's house. He wanted some answers regarding his Sharingan. He knocked on the door of the current clan head, who welcomed him and led him to the living room. He had heard about the incident involving the boy's Sharingan. After all, it wasn't common for one to develop a Sharingan through sheer determination and effort. "So, what brings you here, Sasuke?" Shishui asked, knowing of the ebony-haired boy's mental turmoil. "I wanted to ask you something, Shishui," Sasuke said, looking at him curiously, with a slight bend of his head as a sign of respect. Shishui gestured for him to go ahead and took a seat beside him. "I have read about the Sharingan. Our clan prides itself on it. The book I have at my apartment says that it can only be awakened in circumstances surrounding extreme turmoil or tragedy. However, mine awakened differently. It was during a spar with someone." Sasuke spoke calmly. "I know you are associating with Uzumaki-san, Sasuke, and I am happy that you have found a friend you can relate to," Shishui intoned knowingly. "I've tried to make the clan members and others understand that you're not like him, but they still hold resentment toward him, and they show it towards you," Shishui added sadly. "As for your Sharingan, your book omits some crucial information," Sasuke, he said, reaching to the stack of scroll he had took out from the clan old directories, considering Sasuke's circumstances. He handed one of the middle scrolls that looked quite weary yet was surely stored carefully. "Sharingan is activated due to the adrenaline rush to one's body that eventually reaches brain cells and activates the eyes here," explained Shishui, pointing to the singular phrase that described such. "So, it's all okay, isn't it?" asked Sasuke uncertainly. "It says here that Sharingan developed through sheer determination are far stronger than the ones derived in hate," he read aloud. "Yeah, it's all good." Shishui smiled at him and placed the scroll back at the table. "Beside, I wanted to ask something to you. Are you still interested in training with me?" queried Shishui, eyeing the Uchiha clan symbol on the wall. "Yes, I need to be stronger," said Sasuke determinedly. "And why is that, Sasuke?" asked Shishui, glancing towards Sasuke. "I want to avenge my mother's death," said Sasuke in a sad but confident voice. Shishui gazed at Sasuke kindly as he took a seat beside him. "As your clan head and a friend, I will suggest you not to make revenge the aim of your life and the reason to become strong, Sasuke. For your life will become void after your revenge is completed. Instead, be strong for your friends, to protect them," he said, placing his hand on Sasuke's shoulder. Shishui stood up and said, "Come to the clan's training grounds starting tomorrow evening." Sasuke pondered for a moment and then nodded his head. He bowed down before heading to his apartment. 13 years after Kyuubi incident. Naruto Uzumaki felt a genuine thrill coursing through him. Graduation day from the academy had finally arrived. The past 3 years had been deliberately joyful, his bond with his group of friends deepening significantly. Even Sasuke had shed much of his former brooding demeanor, opening up considerably over this time. Kiba remained his boisterous self, yet his loyalty to their group was absolute, mirroring the unwavering devotion of wolves to their pack. Shikamaru, spurred by the encouragement of Naruto, Choji, and Kiba, had begun to apply himself more diligently to his studies, even offering his insightful answers more readily in class. Choji was also a steadfast presence, though his closest bonds remained with Shikamaru and Naruto, his interactions with Kiba and Sasuke being infrequent. Naruto's training was at its peak now. Naruto was able to use 4 of the 5 elements Doton, Katon, Suiton, and Futon. He hadn't learned Raiton yet. This was likely due to Raiton being the direct opposite of his strongest affinity, Futon. He had been able to learn to use the 4 elements faster because of his mastery over shadow clones, which gave him a significant advantage over others. If anyone else tried to learn more than one element, besides the Uchiha, who could do so due to their eyes, it would take them years of practice. Whereas, Naruto needed only a few years for his elemental manipulation training to begin. He was able to reach up to the 5th level of Sarutobi-style Bojutsu, and was now working on combining the small jutsu with his bow. He had also mastered the 4th level of Hummingbird style. His Fuin jutsu was stagnant at low-powered seals, like storage or barrier seals. Lastly, Hiruzen had spent quite some time teaching him summoning. He remembered the day he first summoned a toad, and then how he summoned Gamabunta. Flashback 2 years ago. Naruto was just warming up for his physical exercises when Hiruzen entered the training room. Since Naruto had limited his training to the Hokage training room to prevent others from observing and copying his style or jutsu, his safety would be compromised if spies from other villages leaked this information. Neither Sarutobi nor Jiraiya wanted him to become a target for other villages. Naruto, you can relax today. We won't be doing any physical exercises. Instead, you will learn how to summon familiars and utilize their help, his sensei ordered. First, I am going to show you which hand signs are needed for summoning Enma, Hiruzen said, cutting his thumb. He then spread the blood on his palm and performed 7 hand seals before placing his hands on the ground. Summoning Jutsu, Monkey King Enma! He shouted, and Enma appeared in a puff of smoke. Now, Naruto, you will have to cut your thumb, as the summoning requires a sacrifice. Next, follow my hand seals, Hiruzen explained. He had trained Naruto to control his chakra through the tree walking exercise and the water walking exercise. It took Naruto 2 months, with 10 shadow clones each day, to completely master tree walking. After 2 months, he was able to fight upright on a surface for 4 hours straight. However, the water walking exercise was even harder. Yet, after 3 months, fighting on a water surface became second nature to him. Moreover, concerning jutsu learning and chakra control, Hiruzen had explained the memory-returning benefits of shadow clones to Naruto. Naruto cut his thumb and performed the needed hand seals. Summoning jutsu! He yelled, but nothing happened. Hey sensei! Nothing happened here, Naruto said, scratching his cheeks nervously. No need to worry, Naruto, said Hiruzen. The summoning technique is an A-rank jutsu. It took me 6 hours to be able to summon a single monkey on my first try. After nearly 25 more tries, Naruto poured even more of his chakra than before and performed the 7 hand seals. Summoning jutsu! He yelled tiredly. To his surprise, a toad about the same size as a small dog appeared in a puff of smoke in front of him. The toad was orange with a green underbelly, particularly on its arms and legs. The skin around its eyes and lips was magenta purple. He peered up at Naruto curiously and then croaked, Heya there! I am Gamakichi, the elder son of Gamabunta. And you? Oh yeah, hi there, Gamakichi. I am Naruto Uzumaki, apprentice of Hiruzen Sarutobi and godson of the Toad Sage, Jiraiya, he said, offering his hand to the larger-than-average toad. Initially, he was astonished to see a talking toad, but then he remembered Iruka-sensei's lecture about summons. It was known that some higher-class summoned animals develop the ability to manipulate chakra, wield weapons, and converse in human language. He conversed with Gamakichi after shaking its webbed hand, or rather, webbed front leg. The toad told him about the various toads residing on empty Mayaboku, divided into clans, each specializing in different skills like stealth, combat, healing, and even sealing. Hiruzen also explained that since he had summoned Gamakichi on his first try, Kichi would be his familiar. Naruto was also able to summon Gamabunta after 10 days, though the giant toad casually declined him as his summoner. Naruto then summoned Gamakichi, who explained to Gamabunta that Naruto was Jiraiya's godson. This piqued Gamabunta's curiosity, as he knew who had made Jiraiya the godfather of their son. In the end, he accepted Naruto as his summoner. The Toad clan wasn't like the Monkey clan. It didn't only accept shinobi from a particular lineage. Summoners of the Toad clan had come from various clans throughout history, but they all shared one thing: they had been tested and proven worthy enough to handle toads before they could summon them. Flashback ends. Naruto, as a summoner, found a particular affinity with Gamaken, as they both favored long-range weaponry. Gamaken wielded a Susumuda and shield, while Naruto employed a metal bow, a 12th birthday gift from Hiruzen. This bow was at least 4 feet long, black with dim red flames bordering yellow plates at each end. It possessed the remarkable ability to extend or shorten at Naruto's will, and Jiraiya had established a summoning link via a tattoo on Naruto's wrist depicting a vertically erect, flaming bow. He carried it on his back in a black mesh cover. He had also updated his attire to a half-sleeved black skin-tight tee, blue shinobi pants, and blue shinobi sandals, complemented by a sleeveless orange zip-up jacket. Locking his apartment door, he set off towards the academy. Across the village, in another apartment, Sasuke Uchiha prepared for his final day at the academy. He wore an elbow-length black t-shirt, knee-length dark blue shinobi pants, black forearm warmers, and black shinobi shoes. An ink-black sleeveless haori adorned his torso, securing his 2 tantos horizontally at his waist. Over the past 3 years, Sasuke had trained extensively with Shursui in Taijutsu, Kenjutsu, and Ninjutsu. He possessed 2 primary chakra affinities, fire, Katon, and lightning, Raiten, with the latter being his stronger suit. His chakra control was exceptional for a genin, significantly surpassing Naruto's due to his Uchiha heritage, and his chakra reserves rivaled those of a Chunin. While he preferred the extended reach of katanas over tantos, the tantos were a cherished gift from Shui, whose wishes he respected. Unbeknownst to Sasuke, these were the very same tantos Itachi had used during his time as an ANBU operative. His Sharingan had progressed to 3 tomo in both eyes, granting him the ability to cast potent genjutsu, copy ninjutsu, and predict enemy movements. His speed was second only to Naruto's during their academy years, but his superior agility and flexibility often gave him an edge in sparring matches against the blonde. During these 3 years, Sasuke had become considerably more open, especially towards Naruto. He had confided in Naruto about the events of that devastating night and his subsequent treatment within the clan. Naruto had vowed to support him in any way he could, assuring Sasuke that they were brothers in spirit if not by blood, a sentiment that deeply resonated with the Uchiha. While Sasuke had long considered Naruto a brother, this open acknowledgement was significant. Their countless sparring sessions had given them a perfect understanding of each other's fighting styles. Sasuke would occasionally copy some of Naruto's jutsu, always seeking his permission beforehand. Lacing up his shoes, he began his walk towards the academy. Sakura Haruno felt a knot of anxiety tighten in her stomach for the day ahead. Coming from a modest shinobi background, her father a seasoned chunin before retirement and subsequent tool shop ownership, her mother a dentist, Sakura's childhood ambition of becoming a doctor had been rerouted by a past incident. On her 6th birthday, a drunken civilian had barged into their home, harassing her mother in her father's absence. Her attempts to intervene were futile, the bully easily pushing her aside. After a terrifying 10 minutes of shouting, a ninja in an animal mask, drawn by the commotion, had intervened, rescuing her and her mother. From that day forward, Sakura's path was clear. She would become a kunoichi, strong enough to protect herself and her family. Throughout her academy years, she had endured teasing for her distinctive pink hair and what others cruelly called her large forehead. While she excelled in kunoichi training, her prowess was solely due to her sharp intellect. Her intelligence and extensive knowledge placed her at the top of her class academically, but Sakura was acutely aware that these attributes alone would be insufficient in the brutal shinobi world, where death could come in the blink of an eye. Sakura had made a solemn vow to herself: she would never surrender, and she was determined to uphold that promise, no matter the obstacles. After preparing for the academy and finishing her breakfast, she set off, her resolve firm despite her underlying nervousness. Iruka surveyed the class, this year's students ready for their graduation exams. He noted the diverse talents. Some possessed raw skill like Naruto, others wielded unique Kekai Genkai such as Sasuke or Hinata. Some exhibited a tendency towards laziness, like Shikamaru, while others displayed sharp intellect, akin to Sakura. Yet one undeniable truth hung in the air: this generation of genin held immense potential, destined to surpass their predecessors. From Iruka's side, Mizuki cast a sidelong glance at the academy students, these soon-to-be graduates. His gaze settled on a particular blonde, the demon brat. Mizuki had witnessed his transformation from a boisterous, seemingly inept child into one of the academy's top performers. Tonight, all of this would be left behind. His sole focus was acquiring the secret scroll from the Hokage Tower. The written examination proved to be remarkably simple, encompassing tasks such as decoding messages, analyzing scenarios and determining appropriate responses, solving mathematical problems, and recalling the extensive history of the shinobi nations. The subsequent taijutsu assessment involved sparring against instructors. Naruto, Hinata, and Sasuke stood out as the only 3 capable of landing blows, while the remaining students performed considerably better than in the initial test. The third examination evaluated mastery of the substitution jutsu, transformation jutsu, and clone jutsu. Naruto strategically employed rock clones for his evaluation, deliberately concealing his superior shadow clones, recognizing the rock clones' greater effectiveness compared to standard illusionary clones. An hour later, Iruka entered the classroom. Out of 63 students, 21 had successfully passed the graduation exams. Naruto, Sasuke, Kiba, Shikamaru, Choji Ino, Sakura, and Hinata were among those who passed with remarkable success. Sasuke was recognized as the Rookie of the Year, with Naruto close behind. Hinata earned the title of Kunoichi of the Year, followed by Sakura. Your teams and senseis will be announced in a week's time. Until then, rest and enjoy your time with your families, Iruka announced, a proud smile gracing his features. Hey guys, wanna hang out at Ichiraku? Let's celebrate our graduation with a party, Naruto said excitedly. Yes. It will be fun, guys, agreed Kiba enthusiastically. Sasuke shrugged with a bored look on his face. He loved Ichiraku's tomato ramen soup, but that revelation was not necessary. Calm down, both of you, Shikamaru said as he pointed at Naruto and Kiba lazily. It'll just cause trouble. They all moved on to the Ichiraku ramen stand to have their little party. After 2 hours of eating, bickering, and childish boasting about themselves, mostly by Kiba, Shikamaru, Choji, and Kiba went on towards their clan compound after a little conversation. Hey Naruto, fancy a quick spar? Might help settle our stomachs, Sasuke suggested, glancing towards the blonde. Naruto grinned and nodded, and they both headed towards the nearest training ground. As they walked, Naruto grinned, bouncing slightly. Hey Sasuke, you sure you're up for this after all that food? Don't want to see you losing your lunch. Sasuke rolled his eyes, a hint of a smile touching his lips. Worry about yourself, Naruto. I can handle a little exercise. Besides, you need all the practice you can get before I beat you again. Naruto laughed. Oh, is that so? Last time I checked, you were the one tasting the ground. Get ready for a rematch, Rookie of the Year. As they approached the training grounds, they heard a sudden noise coming from the nearby forest. Naruto, ever the curious one, immediately sped off to investigate, with Sasuke close behind. They reached a small clearing, and the scene that unfolded before them ignited their fury. In the center, Iruka lay on the ground, locked in a struggle with Mizuki, who stood over him, a kunai raised menacingly. Without hesitation, they charged forward. They couldn't allow the white-haired Chunin to harm their beloved teacher. Sasuke took the lead, intercepting Mizuki's descending kunai with one of his tantos, forcing him to stumble backward. Simultaneously, Naruto adopted a defensive stance, discreetly forming 2 shadow clones. He silently commanded one to check on Iruka's condition while the other sped off to alert the Hokage about the unfolding crisis. What happened, Iruka-sensei? Why was Mizuki trying to hurt you? Naruto's clone asked, his voice laced with concern. Naruto! You're here, Iruka exclaimed, his voice still groggy. Yeah, I'm here, sensei. Now, please tell me what's going on, Naruto's clone requested gently. I was walking back from the academy when I heard he had stolen the secret scroll of sealing from the Hokage Tower. I followed his trail and found him running through the forest. I came here to stop him, but I messed up by thinking he wasn't that strong. He was about to finish me off when you two showed up, Iruka said weakly, glancing towards Sasuke who was using his tanto to block Mizuki's attacks. Hey, you jerk! Pick on someone your own size! Naruto roared, nodding towards Sasuke. Mizuki growled. I'll teach you little punks some manners. You'll learn to mind your own business. Mizuki flung a volley of a dozen shurikens towards them. Sasuke swiftly sidestepped the incoming projectiles, while Naruto stood ready behind him. Futon, great breakthrough! He roared, unleashing a powerful gust of wind chakra towards the sharp metal stars. The shurikens, caught in the gale, reversed their trajectory, hurtling back towards a startled Mizuki. Cursing under his breath, he dove to his right, narrowly avoiding the returning barrage. Sasuke exchanged a quick glance with Naruto, a silent signal passing between them. With rapid hand movements, Sasuke executed 4 seals, Katan Fireball Jutsu. Immediately following, Naruto shouted, Futon, Wind Bullet. A massive fireball, the size of a large boulder, was propelled forward, joined by a football-sized sphere of concentrated wind. The fusion of elements caused the fireball's color to shift to an intense white as it sped towards Mizuki, scorching the ground in its wake. Mizuki's eyes widened in alarm, but he reacted swiftly, forming a series of hand seals and yelling, Doton, mud wall. A thick wall of mud and stone erupted from the earth, intercepting the blazing projectile. The wall halted the fiery assault, but not before its brown surface was blackened by the intense heat. Iruka watched in stunned amazement at the unfolding battle. These 2 academy students were executing jutsus with such seamless synchronization. His awe deepened into profound respect as Naruto and Sasuke seamlessly launched yet another combined attack. A smirk played on both Sasuke's and Naruto's lips as the earth wall rose. Naruto nodded towards his teammate, his hands already moving through 8 precise seals before pressing them to the ground. Doton Earth Dome! He exclaimed, and a sturdy dome of stone encased Mizuki, effectively trapping him. Without missing a beat, Sasuke formed his own set of hand seals, his palm facing the earthen prison. Raiton, Lightning Bolt Jutsu. A sharp bolt of pure lightning erupted from his hand, striking the surface of the earth dome. The ground, acting as a natural conductor, absorbed the electrical energy, becoming overloaded in an instant. With a deafening boom, the dome violently exploded, shattering into countless fragments under the immense power it contained. Mizuki was flung from the remnants of the dome, his right arm torn away, his body bearing several gruesome, bloodied crush injuries. Don't you think we overdid it a little, Naruto? Sasuke questioned, his gaze fixed warily on the mangled figure of their former instructor. No. A traitor cannot be forgiven, Naruto stated firmly, his voice resolute. Sasuke met his friend's gaze and nodded in grim agreement. Their exchange was interrupted by the sudden arrival of the Hokage, accompanied by Shisui, Kakashi, and 4 masked Anbu operatives. Hiruzen's gaze fell upon the defeated Mizuki, and with a silent gesture, he directed the Anbu to transport him to the hospital for immediate care, followed by a transfer to Ibiki's interrogation chambers for a thorough investigation into his treachery. Excellent work, Naruto and Sasuke. I anticipated nothing less from 2 of the most outstanding students graduating from the academy this year, Hiruzen commended them, his expression radiating a warm smile. Today, you both demonstrated exceptional skill and bravery, ultimately saving the life of your teacher, Hiruzen added, his voice filled with pride. Naruto and Sasuke were then directed towards their respective homes. Sasuke departed with Shisui, engaging in quiet conversation, while Naruto walked alongside Kakashi. During their walk, Kakashi, after extracting a solemn vow of secrecy from the young ninja, finally revealed his true identity, a piece of information Naruto held with newfound respect and understanding. The weight of the day's events, coupled with Kakashi's trust, settled upon Naruto as they walked towards his apartment. That same night, Hokage Tower. Kakashi and Shisui had returned to the tower as per Hiruzen's orders. He gestured for both of them to take a seat on the comfortable sofa. Hiruzen asked, "Did you observe the destruction, Kakashi?" Kakashi shook his head. "Hi, Hokage-sama," he said. The both of them did a number on Mizuki. He lost one of his limbs due to their combined jutsu. Indeed, to see such harmony and synchronization at this early stage, they would certainly reach great heights together, Shisui thoughtfully intoned. Yes, I have been made aware of that. Hiruzen took a seat beside his top jonins. If we could place them both on a same genin team, that would be most beneficial for all. He continued, placing a file on the desk. Hiruzen said, "I have a candidate for the 3rd member of your team." He opened the file and gestured towards it. Haruno Sakura has exceptional chakra control. If guided properly, she could reach the level of Tsunade. Indeed, Hokage-sama. However, they need a sensei of that caliber to control them and satisfy their needs for knowledge. I would have taken up the mantle, but the clan responsibilities hold me back, Shisui said, looking genuinely sad. What about you, Kakashi? Hiruzen asked. Being one of our top jonin, you're more than capable of guiding them. Your extensive knowledge of countless jutsu and techniques will easily satisfy their strong desire to learn. They're eager students, and you possess the skills to teach them everything they need to know. I will do it, but I have 2 conditions, replied Kakashi after a brief pause. Conditions, Hataki? Hiruzen chuckled, amused by the familiar childishness of one of his elite jonin. Kakashi wouldn't be Kakashi without his peculiar antics and detached demeanor. Kakashi stood his ground. I wish to be Naruto's second guardian, and I want the Uchiha as my apprentice, he stated firmly. These are rather significant requests, Kakashi, Hiruzen frowned thoughtfully. Sasuke's apprenticeship is easily arranged, assuming Shisui concurs. However, Naruto. That presents an entirely different situation, Hataki. He looked up at Kakashi with a serious expression. His other guardian is her, and I doubt she would take kindly to learning. Her rights have been hindered, Hiruzen explained. Well, if not that, something of equal value would be appreciated, Hokage-sama, Kakashi said, bowing his head slightly. We shall see about that, Kakashi. Rest assured, I will continue to train Naruto, Hiruzen replied. He then turned to Shisui and said, and you will also have the opportunity to train Sasuke in your spare time. He needs to grow stronger to protect himself. Shisui bowed his head respectfully and departed, soon followed by Kakashi. The weeks sped by, filled with intense sparring sessions between Naruto and Sasuke. Finally, the day for team assignments and sensei introductions arrived. Naruto was buzzing with anticipation, hoping to be teamed up with at least one of his friends. He took a quick shower and started preparing his own breakfast, his cooking lessons with Kakashi finally proving useful. While he could now manage breakfast and dinner, Ichiraku's delicious ramen still held the top spot for lunch. He chose a less crowded route to the academy, wanting to avoid the usual fear and hatred from the villagers. Today was a happy day, the start of his shinobi career. Little did he know, a surprise awaited him. He arrived at the academy and settled into his usual seat next to Sasuke, a habit from the previous year. Sasuke gave him a brief nod before returning to his customary window gazing. 20 minutes later, Iruka entered the classroom, his right arm in a high sling. The room fell silent as he began to speak. I am truly proud of all of you. You have all passed your graduation exams and are now genin. The life of a shinobi is challenging and unpredictable, but always remember that you do this to protect your friends, family, and loved ones. Then came the team announcements. The first 6 teams, comprised mostly of civilian background students, weren't particularly noteworthy. Then came the crucial teams. Team 7 consists of Uchiha Sasuke, Haruno Sakura, and Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto whooped with joy. Sasuke, too, was pleased with the arrangement. At least Naruto was on his team, even if the third member was unfamiliar. Your Jonin sensei will be Hatake Kakashi. Naruto sat in stunned happiness. He hadn't realized his older brother had agreed to lead their team. His joy clearly overshadowed his surprise. Team 8 consists of Hyuga Hinata, Aburame Shino, and Kiba Inuzuka, Irika continued. Hinata and Shino nodded, while Kiba cast a bored glance at Shino. Team 9 is still in progress. Team 10 will consist of Nara Shikamaru, Choji Akimichi, and Yamanaka Ino. Your Jonin sensei will be Sarutobi Asuma, Irika announced. Shikamaru grumbled softly, while Ino nodded. She might have protested not being on Sasuke's team if he were the golden boy everyone expected, but he was just another student now. Choji simply nodded, continuing to munch on his chips. Several Jonin entered the room, but 2 stood out: Asuma Sarutobi, a man with spiky black hair and a beard, wearing the standard Jonin uniform with a red waist sash bearing the kanji for guardian, exuding confidence, and Kurenai Yuhi, a beautiful black-haired woman with striking red eyes, known as Konoha's Genjutsu mistress. Asuma said, Team 10, come with me, leading Shikamaru, Ino, and Choji out. Kurenai followed suit with her team. Soon, every Jonin had collected their team, leaving only Team 7 behind. An hour later, Sasuke's right eye twitched, a clear sign of his irritation, while Sakura nervously flipped through a book on healing herbs, repeatedly glancing at the door and her teammates. Naruto, however, remained the most composed. He knew his brother's tendency for tardiness and wouldn't give him the satisfaction of a reaction. Hatake Kakashi strolled casually through the Genin Academy corridors. While generally laid back, he understood that this particular team needed a sensei who could actively keep them in check. Naruto alone was at least low Chunin level, and paired with an elite Genin level Uchiha and a Kunoichi with exceptional chakra control, they were like raw, powerful materials ready to be forged into dangerous weapons. Kakashi finally entered the classroom, met by glares from Sasuke and Naruto and a nervous smile from Sakura. He offered them a reassuring eye smile before addressing them. Meet me on the roof in 5 minutes, don't be late. With that, he vanished in a body flicker. Sasuke smoothly exited through the window onto the roof, walking effortlessly up the wall. Naruto quickly followed suit. Sakura stared in surprise. She had read about the tree-walking exercise, but witnessing her classmates perform it so casually was astonishing. Nevertheless, she hurried out of the room and towards the roof. Kakashi wasn't even slightly surprised by Naruto and Sasuke's display of skill. He knew they had been training with the Hokage and Shursui, respectively. He gestured for them to sit down, and soon Sakura joined them. He began, alright, first things first, let's introduce ourselves. I'm the senior here, so I'll go first. My name is Kakashi Hatake. My likes and dislikes aren't really your concern. As for my dream, I haven't really thought about it, but reading is a hobby of mine. Naruto and Sakura's sweat dropped at his nonchalant introduction, while Sasuke's left eye twitched again in annoyance. Kakashi gestured towards Sakura. You go first, Pinky. Hi, my name is Haruno Sakura. I like reading and gardening. I dislike perverts and arrogant people. My future dream is to become a strong kunoichi, Sakura said with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Next, the brooder, Kakashi said, looking at Sasuke. My name is Uchiha Sasuke. I enjoy training in katanas. I dislike a certain person. I don't have a dream. My hobbies are training and sparring with this idiot next to me, Sasuke stated, pointing at Naruto, who playfully threw a jab at him, eliciting a small laugh from Sakura. Kakashi noticed the subtle strain on Sasuke's face, recognizing the lingering hunger for revenge that would undoubtedly need to be addressed. Now you go, Blondie, Kakashi said, earning a glare from Naruto, who nonetheless spoke. My name is Uzumaki Naruto Tebeo. I like my friends and ramen. I dislike traitors and ignorant people. My hobbies are training, pranking, and learning new jutsu, Naruto said, adjusting his headband. Okay, introductions are done. Tomorrow you have a survival exercise, Kakashi said, his eyes curving into his signature smile. A survival exam? We've never heard of this before, Sensei, Sakura said hesitantly. Well, now you have. Be ready and don't eat breakfast. 7 a.m. tomorrow morning at training ground number 7, Kakashi instructed before vanishing in a body flicker. Damn, that looks cool. I need to learn that jutsu, Naruto exclaimed. So do I, Sasuke intoned from beside him. The next morning. The morning dawned with a sense of unease for some in Konoha, particularly for the renowned copy ninja, Hatake Kakashi. He jolted awake, the same recurring nightmare casting a dark shadow over his sleep, Obito's accusatory voice blaming him for Rin's tragic death. A sheen of sweat clung to his skin as he sat up groggily, reaching for the 2 pills on his bedside table. He swallowed them quickly with a gulp of water from the glass beside his bed, hoping to quell the rising tide of his anxiety. Taking several deep, deliberate breaths, the reality of his day resurfaced. He had to evaluate his new genin squad. Looking around his bedroom, he was surprised to find himself in his own apartment. He had grown accustomed to spending his off-duty hours at Naruto's house, but his access had been revoked after yesterday's team assignments. Naruto was still seething about Kakashi's long-held secret, his face hidden behind a mask only to be revealed during the genin announcements. Naruto felt it was a blatant display of Kakashi's lack of trust. Despite their regular companionship, they had never engaged in actual sparring. Naruto's true fighting capabilities remained a mystery to Kakashi, much like Sasuke's. However, the recent Mizuki incident had confirmed one crucial fact. As the other Jonin had noted, both boys possessed skills far exceeding that of an average academy graduate. Completing his usual morning routine, Kakashi prepared to leave his apartment, the ingrained habit of spending quiet time at the memorial stone still pulling him. Just as he reached his doorstep, a thought struck him. Both Naruto and Sasuke were known to utilize weapons in combat. Kakashi himself had wielded a Chikuto throughout his Anbu career and a Tanto during his genin years. Perhaps it was time to bring those skills to the forefront once more. Their potential should not be underestimated. After all, he had achieved the rank of Jonin at their very age. With this in mind, he made his way to his old storeroom. 20 minutes and a rummage through several dust-laden boxes later, his efforts were rewarded as the familiar gleam of steel met his eyes. There lay a silver-white Chikuto, its 70 centimeters blade pristine, adorned with a red square hilt and a black handle featuring elegant gold diamond-shaped engravings. A blue sheath accompanied the beautifully crafted weapon. After a swift inspection, confirming its flawless condition, he sheathed the Chikuto and secured it across his right shoulder. His gaze then fell upon one of the several Tantos scattered on the floor. It was the very same Tanto he had wielded during his genin days, before the tragic loss of his father. He had never used it since that fateful day, but now he had a new team. He sheathed the Tanto and fastened it around his waist. Having retrieved what he needed, he finally left his apartment, taking to the rooftops for a swift journey towards Training Ground 7. Sakura arrived at the designated training ground precisely at 7 o'clock, finding both her teammates already there. Sasuke meticulously cleaned his Tantos with a white cloth, while Naruto sat in quiet meditation beneath a nearby tree. An unfamiliar black bundle rested beside the blonde boy. Choosing the company of Naruto over the seemingly intimidating Sasuke, who appeared formidable even without a katana, she sat down beside him. Despite her skepticism towards the village rumors surrounding the two boys, they still exuded an aura of intensity. Being from a civilian background, she had heard numerous unsettling tales about them. One was allegedly a cruel demon bent on the village's destruction, while the other was a child teetering on the edge of madness. However, their shared evening at Ichiraku's ramen shop had offered her a glimpse beneath these frightening facades. Naruto, while overly friendly, was approachable. Sasuke, on the other hand, remained an enigma, silent, withdrawn, with a seemingly irritable inner world. She had witnessed his quick annoyance when Naruto playfully poked him the previous night, escalating into a brief, albeit amusing, bickering match. Naruto, his sensory perception still developing and limited to the edges of the clearing, sensed Sakura's inner unease soon after she entered. He heard the subtle sounds of her approach, the crunch of leaves and the soft rustle of grass beneath her feet. Opening his eyes, he offered her a warm, reassuring smile. Meanwhile, Sasuke had finished polishing his 55-centimeter dark silver Tantos with their plain maroon handles. Not in the mood for conversation, he sheathed them and leaped onto a branch directly above his teammates, settling into a silent perch. Kakashi entered the clearing at that precise moment, or at least, that was the impression he intended to convey. His gaze swept over the 3 figures gathered near a solitary tree. Naruto and Sakura were engaged in quiet conversation, while Sasuke perched on a tree branch above them, resembling a watchful bird. He cleared his throat softly to draw their attention, and all 3 turned towards him. Naruto swiftly picked up the black bundle beside him and secured it onto his back, rising to his feet with Sakura following suit. Sasuke, too, gracefully descended from the tree to join his teammates. Naruto shot Kakashi a pointed glare, the reasons for his displeasure evident. Yet, beneath the anger, a flicker of concern danced in his eyes. He was aware of Kakashi's recurring nightmares, having offered comfort to his pseudo-older brother on numerous occasions. The dark circles beneath the retired ANBU's eyes were stark, betraying his distress, especially without the familiar mask to conceal them. "Good morning, my little genin," Kakashi said, quirking an eyebrow and offering a warm smile, though the usual spark in his eyes seemed somewhat subdued. "As I mentioned yesterday, this is a survival test. Only 1/3 of the students who graduate from the academy actually make it into the shinobi ranks. Your advancement will depend entirely on your performance in this task, so I advise you to give it your absolute best." The 3 genin nodded silently. Under normal circumstances, questions about this new information would have arisen, but the current atmosphere was different. Kakashi produced 2 bells from his pocket. "The 3 of you have 2 hours to take these bells from me, 1 for each." "But sensei, there are 3 of us. 2 bells mean one of us will fail and have to go back," Sakura questioned, finally voicing her apprehension. Instead of a verbal reply, Kakashi simply smiled, a hint of challenge in his eyes, and began a countdown. 3, 2, 1, Kakashi counted on his fingers. "Go!" he shouted, leaping backward to create some distance between them. Sakura was the only one to immediately adhere to the ninja code of stealth, disappearing into the surrounding foliage. Naruto and Sasuke, however, remained rooted to their spots, their expressions neutral and assessing. Kakashi realized he needed to prioritize keeping them calm rather than provoking them, and agitated Naruto, in particular, could prove quite troublesome. He even caught himself thinking with the cautious logic of a Nara. Driven by fierce initiative, Sasuke surged forward, his right arm arcing in a swift swing. With an almost bored ease, Kakashi sidestepped the attack. The force of his momentum sent Sasuke stumbling, his leading hand instinctively shooting out to break his fall as he went face first towards the earth. With a quick rotation of his arms, he adjusted his grip, muscles tensing as he launched a sharp kick, aiming precisely for Kakashi's ribs. Kakashi met the blow with a swift block, his hand then snaking out to secure Sasuke's leg, the beginning of a spinning throw already forming in his mind. Not wanting to miss a beat in the unfolding skirmish, Naruto swiftly joined the fray, his movements focused on Kakashi as he coordinated his attack with the Uchihas. Kakashi had to internally concede that Naruto possessed a speed far greater than that of an average genin, though his movements still lacked the refinement needed to truly deceive his experienced, battle-trained eyes. A swift, powerful high kick was aimed at Kakashi, who used his forearm to block, noting the considerable force behind the blow. He instinctively reached to grab the attacker's ankle, much like Sasuke would, but ironically, his attempt was intercepted by the ebony-haired boy, who followed up with a sharp leg sweep. Kakashi pushed Naruto away to create some much-needed distance, and sprang back up, narrowly avoiding the sweep. However, his respite was brief as he sensed a punch hurtling towards him from his side. Unable to fully evade while still airborne, he reacted quickly, ducking and grabbing both of their arms to spin and throw them away from him. Sakura, concealed within the foliage, observed the entire exchange. If she had been astonished by the boys' skills yesterday, she was utterly flabbergasted today. These boys, no older than herself, displayed near-perfect, silent coordination and carried themselves with a poise far beyond that of average genin. Although her knowledge of her sensei was limited, Ino's father, a respected Yamanaka, had described Hatake Kakashi as being at the pinnacle of the Jonin power structure, one of the elite, and indeed, the best. Kakashi's initial assessment had been accurate. The blonde Uzumaki and the lone Uchiha possessed remarkable skill, potentially surpassing even low-level Chunin. Sakura was poised, waiting for her team's next move, when she suddenly felt a light tap on her shoulder, causing her to jump slightly before turning to face the culprit. Expecting Kakashi, she was surprised to see her blonde teammate standing there, solid and real. "You should go help Sasuke and the boss hold down Sensei. They're doing well, but an extra pair of hands would make it easier," a very tangible Naruto told her. "The 3 of you could only dream of taking down Sensei when you work together, if that's even possible." Sakura glanced across the training ground to see another Naruto actively coordinating his movements with Sasuke, attempting to outmaneuver the one-eyed scarecrow. "Boss? Hey! You're a solid clone, how is that even possible?" Sakura exclaimed, pointing a finger at the shadow clone. The clone smiled and shrugged. Naruto glanced at Sasuke, who was struggling just as much. Kakashi was effortlessly holding them both at bay with minimal effort. Naruto wasn't eager to reveal his full fighting capabilities so early. Hiruzen had instructed him to keep his true strength hidden unless absolutely necessary, that is, if he or his teammates were in serious danger. Their eyes met, and Sasuke gave a subtle nod, a silent acknowledgement that Kakashi was a formidable opponent they couldn't easily overcome. They were still far from landing a clean hit on the masked Jonin. Naruto shook his head slightly and pressed forward with the attack. He formed the horse seal, deactivating his resistance seals and allowing his speed to increase to 1.5 times its normal rate. Simultaneously, Sasuke channeled his chakra, activating his Sharingan with two tomos swirling in each crimson eye. Kakashi briefly considered revealing his own Sharingan but decided against it. Sasuke's control over his eyes at this speed wasn't yet refined enough to overwhelm him, a fact Shursui had confirmed. While Naruto possessed natural speed, and the removal of his resistance seals would enhance it, it still wasn't a significant threat to the renowned Jonin. This time, they both charged simultaneously. Naruto launched a right-handed punch, which Kakashi expertly blocked with his knee. At the same moment, Sasuke attempted a kick, but Kakashi's free foot intercepted it. Using his legs for support, Kakashi briefly hovered above the ground, one knee blocking Naruto's punch and the other leg poised to block Sasuke's attack. Then, with swift precision, he gripped their shoulders and flipped them over, using their momentum to throw them away from him. They landed on their feet some distance away from Kakashi. Naruto grinned, slinging his black bundle over his shoulder, while Sasuke's hand instinctively went to the handles of his twin tantos. Naruto revealed his bow staff and adopted a ready stance, his movements synchronizing with Sasuke, who smoothly transitioned into Chudan no Kami, a mid-level stance favored by the Uchiha clan for their kenjutsu. His tantos were held in a reverse grip, allowing for more fluid movements. With a swift flick of his bow, Naruto charged forward, Sasuke right behind him. Kakashi, in the meantime, had already drawn both his Chikuto and Tanto. Sasuke took the initiative mid-charge, aiming a dual Tanto strike towards Kakashi's head. Kakashi raised his Tanto to block Sasuke's attack, his eye simultaneously tracking Naruto's approach. Naruto, assuming Kakashi's focus was solely on Sasuke, closed in on the masked Jonin, aiming a direct strike at his unguarded abdomen. Anticipating this, Kakashi swiftly brought his Chikuto forward, clashing against Naruto's bow and forcefully pushing him back. Unbeknownst to the three of them, Sakura had stealthily closed the distance. She drew a kunai from her pouch and aimed it at Kakashi. However, Kakashi feigned ignorance of her approach. Just as Sakura lunged to stab him, he swiftly kicked her arm away and dropped his Chikuto towards her, observing the reactions of the others. He was pleased when Naruto suddenly appeared between him and Sakura, grabbing her by the back of her shirt and pulling her out of harm's way while simultaneously blocking Kakashi's descending Chikuto with his bow. Taking advantage of Kakashi's momentary distraction, Sasuke lunged and stabbed Kakashi's right leg. He was met with a grimace of pain, but instantly, the flesh and blood dissolved into a wooden log and splinter, a clear indication of a substitution jutsu. Kakashi was internally impressed with the taijutsu and weapon skills displayed by two of his three students. Sakura, however, clearly needed a more effective taijutsu style and a significant boost in confidence. "Very well done!" Kakashi voiced echoed in the clearing. "Now, for the second lesson, ninjutsu." Katon Fire Phoenix Jutsu. Several small, flaming bird-shaped projectiles erupted from a nearby bush, streaking towards the three students and revealing Kakashi's new position. Naruto took the lead, stepping forward to protect his teammates. He swiftly formed four hand seals and yelled, "Suetun, water shield." A surge of water rose from the nearby pond, forming a solid liquid barrier that effectively blocked the incoming fireballs. Kakashi smiled faintly at his younger brother's resourcefulness. He knew Hiruzen had imparted a vast array of jutsu to Naruto, and this was an opportune moment to gauge his elemental affinities. "Right-un Earth Flash!" Kakashi exclaimed, a bolt of lightning crackling from his outstretched palms, utilizing the very soil as a conduit. Naruto recognized the danger. Water was an excellent conductor of electricity. Acting quickly, he mirrored Kakashi's rapid hand movements, inhaled deeply, and then unleashed a powerful gust of wind. Futon Breakthrough! The force of the wind met the lightning, dissipating its electrical charge harmlessly into the ground. He glanced at Sasuke, signaling for support. With a grunt of acknowledgement, Sasuke joined him, and together they unleashed two massive fireballs, easily twice the size of Kakashi's earlier attacks. However, Kakashi remained unfazed, slamming his palm onto the ground. Doton Mud Wall! A substantial wall of mud erupted, halting the colossal fireballs in their tracks. Naruto, not one to be outdone, formed another set of hand seals and launched several fist-sized spheres of water at the mud wall. The water relentlessly eroded the earth, causing the wall to melt back into a muddy puddle. Unbeknownst to them, Sakura was once again attempting a stealthy approach on Kakashi. Her repeated attempts to adhere to the fundamental academy rule of stealth were, to put it mildly, transparent. Kakashi was a top-tier jonin, a master tracker aided by his ninja hounds. His own senses were arguably sharper than even those of the Inuzuka clan. Even Sakura's delicate perfume acted as a beacon, making her location easily discernible. Yet, he remained stationary, observing her next move. Surprisingly, she hurled three shurikens coated in a green liquid, likely a paralyzing poison, towards Kakashi. He deliberately allowed the shurikens to strike his left leg. Seizing the opportunity, Sakura swiftly reached for the bells at his waist, snatching them, and throwing one towards Naruto and the other towards Sasuke. Suddenly, Kakashi dissolved into mud, and the bells in Naruto's and Sasuke's hands also melted, revealing them to be as illusory as Kakashi's clone. Kakashi reappeared before them in a swift body flicker. "Congratulations, you defeated my rock clone, and your time is up," Kakashi stated calmly. As if on cue, a small alarm clock went off, signaling the end of their 2-hour limit. Kakashi had half mind to tie Sakura to the pole, but he forfeited the plan as his team had already shown teamwork. For now, Kakashi would accept that, yet it didn't mean that would remain as such for long. No, he would train them to be a tightly packed team. At least until they reached the skill levels Naruto and Sasuke displayed would determine their rankings in the future, which was certain. Naruto and Sasuke's jutsu combinations were complementary. Their team dynamics were effective and sharp, and it was clear from their subtle signals or wordless gestures that they understood each other clearly. As for the weaknesses, Sasuke needed to extend his speed to match his Sharingan. Naruto had the least amount of holes in his style. He just needed more powerful jutsus to go with his blunt style. Sakura was in need of a total rejuvenation and new taijutsu style that fit her, along with improvements in her diet and strategic advisory. To ascertain her aptitude for the medical arts, he would need to procure specific medical scrolls. Additionally, other essential scrolls covering various fundamental topics would be necessary to refresh her memory. This task shouldn't consume excessive time, given her sharp intellect and considerable theoretical understanding, even if her practical application was noticeably lacking. Furthermore, Kakashi recognized that both Naruto and Sasuke were consciously suppressing their full capabilities from manifesting, a factor that would have undoubtedly made things considerably more taxing. He had also discerned a peculiar familiarity in Naruto's taijutsu. It was as if all the components of a complex puzzle were present and correctly aligned, save for one or two crucial connecting pieces. "Well, you have certainly performed adequately. Putting 3 students from the top 5 of the graduating year together was a risky move, but you have proven that decision correct," Kakashi addressed them, sheathing his blades and gesturing for them to do the same. "As for the test, it wasn't about the bells at all. It was about your teamwork from the very beginning. And I must say, you didn't disappoint me, unlike the students I've had previously. Even you, Sakura, who didn't have prior experience with them, managed to keep up." He turned his gaze towards the pink-haired Kunoichi. "You did great," he praised her sincerely. "Although, you do need more training. But for today, that's all. You are to attend team meetings starting tomorrow. We will have 3.5 hours of training. After that, we will take on some D-rank missions until evening. You will all be free after that." Kakashi outlined their daily schedule. "Also, Sakura, you need to eat more to match the energy you'll expend on training and missions. Shift your diet to include more protein and carbohydrate-rich foods," Kakashi advised gently. Sakura nodded in response, a faint blush coloring her cheeks. She understood the necessity of adjusting her diet now that she was a shinobi. Her previous focus on maintaining a slim waist was now a distant thought. With the session concluded, the genin dispersed, heading towards their respective homes. A week later, on the streets of Konoha, Naruto made his way towards the Hokage Tower, a slight irritation clouding his features. He needed to sort out some ridiculous issue with his official ID. He had submitted his genin registration form a week prior and today received a summons from the Hokage office, demanding he retake his ID picture. What in the world was wrong with the awesome kabuki face paint pose? If his legendary godfather was allowed to use it, then by all means, so should he. He bounded up the stairs to the 2nd floor and strolled down the corridor, the last room on the left his intended destination. As he entered the genealogy registration office, his eyes met those of an elderly man who regarded him with an impassive expression. "I was sent here to change my profile picture, but I really don't want to. Is there some kind of problem with it?" Naruto asked, a hint of uncertainty in his voice. "No, why would I have any issue with your picture, boy? It was Hokage-sama who instructed me to retake it. If you insist on keeping it as it is, you'll have to take it up with him," the man replied nonchalantly, returning to his paperwork. With a sigh, Naruto reversed his direction and headed towards the Hokage chamber. He knocked politely on the door. He would never again make the mistake of barging in. He vividly remembered the day Hiruzen had instilled in him the importance of respecting personal space. It was during the early, clumsy days of his training, when proper courtesy around his seniors was still a foreign concept. He had burst into the Hokage chamber one morning without knocking. The punishment had been 2 consecutive days of relentless running across the entire village, with a mere 4 hours allotted for sleep, meals, and, well, nature's calls. The second day had been pure agony. Every bone in his body had screamed in protest, and his muscles had refused to obey even the simplest commands. He knew a similar transgression would be met with equally brutal consequences. Enter, Hiruzen's voice called from within. Hey sensei, what's the big deal with my picture on the registration form? Even Aroaji used similar kinds of pictures for his official ID, Naruto grumbled, stepping into the office. Hiruzen studied him for a moment before letting out a soft sigh. Naruto was so much like his parents, a perfect blend of endearing and exasperating. He possessed Minato's sharp intellect and natural talent, but Kushina's spirited personality was undeniably present within him, manifesting in some of her habits, often without Naruto even realizing it. That was during the chaotic times of war, Naruto. And now, no student of mine will appear like a buffoon to other villages. These forms are for official record-keeping. While I might make exceptions for a few in this year's batch, you will not be using that particular picture, Hiruzen stated firmly, his tone leaving no room for argument. You not only have a legacy to uphold, following in your godfather's footsteps, but you must also uphold mine, Hiruzen added thoughtfully, pacing slowly around his chamber. Naruto couldn't help but sweat drop at his mentor's reasoning and his almost desperate eagerness to pass down his Hokage legacy. Though he sensed Hiruzen's growing weariness with his current demanding role, the Hokage was getting on in years. Naruto suspected his real desire was to dedicate himself to nurturing the new generation, believing the academy could greatly benefit from his vast experience. You know, Gigi, Naruto said with a touch of playful smugness, it's a bit selfish to just pick your successor without even asking them, even if that's exactly what I want deep down. Hiruzen was about to retort when the chamber door burst open with a loud bang, a clear breach of protocol. Naruto reacted instantly, his reflexes honed, as 3 sharp kunai were launched towards the intruder. Hiruzen allowed the kunai to harmlessly snag the intruder's clothing, pinning him to the wall. No real damage was done, except for the inevitable teasing Naruto would now have to endure. Stuck awkwardly on the wall, flailing slightly but completely unharmed, was Konohamaru's Sarutobi. Hey brat! What do you think you're doing? Naruto asked, his gaze sharp and penetrating. Put him down, Naruto, Hiruzen interjected gently. Naruto looked back at his sensei, a question in his eyes. He's my grandson, Konohamaru. That's his 25th failed attempt to take over my position. He seems to think the Hokage seat is worth all this trouble. Hiruzen muttered the last part under his breath. Pardon me, sensei. The intrusion was so sudden, I didn't have a chance to process anything, Naruto apologized, pulling the kunai free and allowing Konohamaru to drop to the floor with a soft thud. No, it's quite alright. He needed to learn his lesson, anyway. The young Sarutobi grumbled to himself, shooting a glare at the blonde genin. However, a flicker of something else was visible in his eyes, curiosity. Just then, a man wearing small, circular sunglasses, dressed in attire similar to a Toketsu Jonin, rushed into the office in a state of mild panic. The concept of a Toketsu Jonin was both confusing and intriguing to Naruto. Confusing because he couldn't quite grasp how someone could be a Jonin by specializing in only one specific area of shinobi training, yet intriguing because it potentially offered a path for him. While currently restricted from displaying his full range of abilities, once he was given the green light, this specialization might be a viable option. How many times do I have to tell you, honorable grandson? Please refrain from wandering around aimlessly. The man fretted at Konohamaru, his tone akin to a worried mother hen. He glanced at Naruto for a brief moment before continuing. Not everyone in the village has good intentions. Naruto simply rolled his eyes at the man's overprotective nature. He was tired of people with such a narrow-minded view who couldn't understand his burden and judged him based on it. I am not changing my picture, sensei, Naruto declared with a chuckle. Aroaji would be incredibly proud of it. And with that, he turned and left the Hokage chamber. The past month had been an intense and demanding period for Sakura. Kakashi had pushed her limits, figuratively breaking her down to rebuild her stronger. He had provided her with scrolls detailing a taijutsu style that emphasized chakra-enhanced strength and focused chakra composition for offensive strikes, while defense relied on short-range power movements. Unbeknownst to Sakura, she was learning the foundational principles of Tsunade's formidable taijutsu. While she currently lacked Tsunade's immense raw strength, Kakashi intended to bridge that gap over time. He had plans to instruct her in the necessary strength-building techniques, as her already excellent chakra control was crucial for this style to be truly effective. Her current taijutsu was, in essence, incomplete without the requisite power. Kakashi himself had also intensified his own training. He needed to be in peak condition to effectively guide his 3 energetic students. Naruto and Sasuke were remarkably receptive, absorbing knowledge at an astonishing rate. Notably, Naruto had completed his jutsu combination training. Furthermore, Hiruzen had taught him how to infuse more chakra into his shadow clones, enabling them to utilize ninjutsu. Sasuke's training, on the other hand, concentrated on genjutsu and physical conditioning. He was also beginning to delve into his primary elemental affinity, with Kakashi guiding him through the intricacies of the lightning style. Remarkably, the three of them had already set a new record for the most D-rank missions completed by any genin squad in history. Adding to the usual demands, Naruto had to contend with Konohamaru's persistent attention. The young Sarutobi constantly badgered him to play or teach him cool jutsu. Konohamaru possessed an inexhaustible energy that rivaled Naruto's own childhood hyperactivity. Ever since the incident in the Hokage chamber, Konohamaru had taken to following Naruto around the village. After a week of relentless